Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. How is everybody doing? Happy Wednesday, Thursday, wherever you all be. 9 p.m. my time. Carol, hello. Let me scroll back up. You guys are chatting. Brian, I saw you this morning, buddy. 5 a.m. my time. I suppose that's it's 5 a.m. my time. So that was 8 a.m. for you. I'm assuming, or maybe you're Brian Matthews. You might be UK. James Lynn, how are you? Mike, there. How's your day going, brother? George, yep. Welcome, old school Gunpla. Lelios, is that how you say your last name? Matthew, how are you, brother? How's New York today? Conan, what's up, y'all? Bryce, what's up? Got a little frog in my throat. Yeah, George is watching from work. I'm at the desk at the office. Headphones, brother. Retired, living the dream. Oh man, you are the man. Good for you. Yeah, my parents retired about a year ago, and they were living the dream too, bugging me all the time. Good evening, guys, from sunny Norfolk in the UK. It's actually not raining today. You mean your summer's not an English summer, Tony? Yeah, we had a couple of days of rain last week, and then Mother Nature, Mother Earth, whatever her name is, that bitch, she cranked up the heat. Today is the first day of a 5-day heat wave. Which means I think when I looked at the temps for next Wednesday, a week from now, I think we'll be back to, for my Asia stream guys, we'll do an evening time for next Wednesday because it looks like it's dropping about 10, 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me keep doing this. I have to prep this oil. It's almost done with this. What do we got here? Yeah, James, James Lynn, you're Toronto, right? Or Montreal, I forget which one. Carol, hello. Zal, there you are. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I always think you're never gone to bed, Zal. You're just always up. 2FS, friend. Hello, my friend. Dominic, Robert, hello, hello. Poland, Dominic, and you're Atlanta. Okay. Robert, you're Poland, right? Warsaw, maybe? Marino, hey, how are you, buddy? You know, Marino, I apologize. I forgot to put the hand painter dudes in the description, his IG. I saw that the other day and I went, oh, shit, I forgot to do it. And then I forgot to do it again because when I remind myself and I didn't do it. Well, I'll get to them, Marina. Don't worry. Hey, Wayne, how are you? Mark Wines, welcome. Is it Weens or Wines? IE should be E, right? Weens, Mark Weens. Bonsoir, Bryce. Bonsoir. Darren, hello, brother. How are you doing, man? Joshua, blazing hot day in Bama. Yeah, I think United States about ready to melt. I think it's like there's like one little blue spot in the whole country. It's just red everywhere. It's like, what the fuck? That's a nice helmet, dude. Guy just rolled by in an old school Easy Rider Harley, like chopper, and he had this gold metal flake helmet. I love it. Okay, what do we got here? Model Maker. Good morning from Holland. Looking forward to the stream. John Barnaco. Checking in, Mike. Hello, hot here. Yeah. Did you make it to Denver okay? Or Pitt, wherever you were flying from? You're leaving Pitt, and you're moving to Denver, but I don't know where you were flying to. So there was a question mark, but I assumed you went to Denver. I was reading the story about Denver with the smoke that they had. So last year's fires for the West Coast guys, I don't know if Craig Cole's in stream yet or not. I don't know if he's coming in. The wind patterns last year blew right through Portland, Seattle with the fire smoke. And so we had what Denver had a year ago, and it was the apocalypse. Like, it's unbelievable. So Denver, if you guys haven't seen the news, and in Turkey and Greece too, you boys are dealing with the same bullshit. These fires are out of control. Marino's going to start a Heinkel HE119. Is that the float plane? Is that the twin float? Or is that a 115? It's a 119, guys. Recon? I'm not up on my Heinkels. Yeah, Michael Koff says, I never missed an episode. Oh, you're the best, man. Gold star for Michael Koff. I got to get on my little thingies on stream, my little bonuses and bloops and doohickeys. I'm way behind. Justin, there you are. We're a friend on the fires right now, actually. Yeah, the ones in Oregon. Yeah, it's a call to arms for everybody. And you know, here's the thing, and it's not to get political or anything, but I am tired of people going, we didn't expect this to happen. Dude, get your head out of your ass. It's going to get worse every fucking year. Like, just what? What do you mean you didn't expect this to happen? It burns down every year. Australia too. Theirs is coming because you know it's going to be hot down there for their summer next our northern winter. Yeah, I read that stuff and I'm just like, I mean, I feel bad, but it's like you can't have this attitude like this is not going to happen to us. Like we have to be like way better prepared for this kind of stuff. I mean, I'd be. What'd you say, Marino? Yeah, it is. Okay, I was correct on that one. Okay, it's the twin engine one, right? And there's a float plane version. I think there's some ones that ran out of Norway, the Norwegian campaign in the first part of the war it's a beautiful plane. I agree. I think it's an old Matchbox or Airfix kit. Remind me, guys, is it a 172nd HE119 somewhere? I forget who makes that. Smoke all the way to Rocky Sucks. Yeah, Ben Tim, hello. Yeah, Marco Biankelli. Got that right. I say hello, Gareth. There you are. Welcome. Gareth, was it you or Gary Matthews? Somebody asked a question in stream. Just a heads up, YouTube will flag words that they deem to be sensitive. When we talk about like the paint R word, I don't want to say it on stream because it probably will actually trigger it. But when we talk about like a paint retarder thing in the thing, that word will bring up, if your question doesn't pop and you're asking about that kind of stuff. A paint that slows the paint dry down, call it whatever. That I don't actually. Somebody asked me that last stream, and I don't use those products, or I haven't really needed to. But you can, especially probably right now. If I was doing a lot of heavy painting, I might even investigate running in like a paint thinner thing that would slow all that down. What does that say? Woo, what's with all the common sense? Yeah, no, dude. Common sense is old school. We don't use common sense anymore in 2021, apparently. Okay, so this is the palette from Sunday. I'm just kind of, I got to dab this in and break up this dried surface. So I think, James Lynn, you always ask this kind of question. I've actually still got that. This is the thinner we use on stream. Still good. Does the paint settle down and the thinner's up on top? I got nothing done between Sunday and today, so that's why we're doing just part 2 on this stream, and we're just going to keep going with the StuG. Anyway, let me just keep doing this. Yeah, hellos. I've been going through previous episodes. Glad to see you covering armor and gunpla. Yeah, absolutely. 2 of my favorite things. But I do owe aircraft guys something, and the train guys will return to trains probably this weekend. I do want to get on that Santa Fe engine, and I do want to show a container boxcar thing I got. Hey, on a serious note, the Chicago cop friend, one of the teammates is out of surgery. If anyone can send some love. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, send some love. Lost his right eye, part of this. Holy cow. Oof. That's stuff you guys deal with, man. Yeah, I hope he's going to be okay. I mean, he'll be on admin duty for the next 20 years, but, you know, at least you still got your friend there. I noticed how they set up like an element. Yeah, so Justin, I'm in the middle of a graphic design logo rebranding. About every 2 years I do this. And I was actually planning to showcase kind of all the logos I've used over the last 9 years. I do it for myself as much as anything, Justin, to be truthful. I actually really enjoy it. I love doing it. And I'm one of those designers that if you have a small company, I'm totally fine with rebranding stuff. You know, I'm not Apple or Ford or something, you know, Porsche, where that logo is like massively iconic. So I don't mind shifting gears. I'm back to a Helvetica graphic design element, and it is going to be kind of a periodic table. I've developed a whole program for the books and stuff in terms of what we'll be doing with the website and stuff like that. So I'm excited, Justin. I'm actually kind of just getting started on it, and it's a little bit tricky because anytime you mess with these websites, like if you skin it, you run the risk of losing some of your data. So, and this happened to me twice before with my Wix.com website, where I've reskinned the site and they act like I'm a brand new website, and Wix is like, yeah, they're a bunch of idiots too. Yeah, Helvetica is always good. I've always danced around it, and I've used it occasionally, but I've always used that kind of a sans serif typeface anyway. I think up till now I've been using a News Gothic font, which is another one I really love, especially the italics. Looks really cool. But yeah, we're gonna go with kind of a Helvetica vibe stuff. Yeah, but I've been able to put the new RS small p, and I'm doing that because I think as I do these streams and some other stuff, I've had visions of branching out in terms of just being Rinaldi Studio Press into kind of an umbrella, like where I have other parts of the company, which would be kind of interesting stuff I want to do. You know, and I think, you know, starting 2022, 2023, you'll be seeing some new product stuff coming from me, which will be pretty cool. A lot of it will be print related. I mean, don't get crazy ideas. I'm not going after my AK or ammo friends. But yeah, I've got some ideas on expansion and just some general stuff. Yeah. So the italic one, Marino, is the one that's going to be pulled out. It's the older one from 2019 to 2020. So like I said, about every 18 months, 2 years, I kind of freshen things up. You know, it's like a new jacket in the closet. Scotty Skill Studio. Yes, positive vibes for you, buddy. Yep, absolutely. Send Mike some love. He keeps Chicago safe, or at least safer than normal. But yeah, it's tough. What else we got here? Everybody good? We'll get going here in a little bit. Let me put some. We're going to jump right into it today. We're going to basically pick up where we left off. I've got the tracks mounted on the StuG, and it took me about a half hour to get one side on today because they're pretty tight, and it's always like the most stressful things is to get the tracks on. So what we'll do is I'll reverse it because it's easier to take them off smoothly on camera. And you can just pretend and watch it backwards, and it'll be like me putting them on. No, but seriously, we'll just want to show how I do a test fit on the tracks on a model, usually twice, before I have to call it a day and keep them on there for good. Carol asked a question: Red primer chipping. What color do you chip with? Like, think to go with white and dark gray inside. What do you mean red primer? Red? I'm not understanding. I would think you use a red primer. Is that what you mean? Or do you mean the chip under a red primer, Carol? Like if you had red primer, then you have the metal, the steel, like a dark brown gray tone. I think to go with white and dark gray inside. Oh, you're talking like maybe the interior? Yeah, any kind of exposed like steel, I tend to find that it just kind of a dark brown or dark gray just basically works fine. The chip should be so small that you're not going to see a tonal difference. Toronto's hot. Okay, yeah, we're screwed up then if Toronto's hot. Tomas, hello. Good evening. Yeah, European Ben Tim. I said, yep. How are you? Alrighty, almost ready. Everybody, 12:12. It's a good time to roll. Did I get everybody? Say hello. Let's see. Model Maker says, read the book that told the story from Joachim Piper and the Ardennes. Yeah, it's a well-known one. Many tigers and panthers in battle for Tiger 2 build stream in the near future. For me, there is. I can tell you there is a Tiger 2 prepped. It's not a Ardennes, but it's down the road a ways. Unfortunately, putting decals in the OA4M. That's a really cool jet. I miss a Skyhawk. I just love the Skyhawk in Top Gun when they ran that thing hot. It is a zippy little, like if I had to buy a jet, you know what I mean, like a personal jet. And then if I had to buy something, I'd have myself a Skyhawk for sure. The Scuda. Remediator, yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's weird. YouTube picks up those words and it blocked I think it was Gary Matthews asked that question about that. Left, I used that. So question, Conan, I'm working on a US post-war tank. The reference shows chips on OD green to what looks like primer. Is it kind of a lighter color, Conan? In terms of like, is it a color photo or black and white photo? Would you chip to gray primer? Yeah, probably. That's what I'm thinking. I would agree with you on that. I love that's a good one. Hi, Mike. Nice to see you. But how are you, Mike? There's a bunch of mics. There's a lot of mics in there. We got like at least 3, I think, right now. I don't know the nogs in. Nero, there you are. Sorry, I missed you earlier. Hello. Trying to say hello to everybody. We'll get rolling here in a sec. Do a little quick review where we were. Okay. Whitewash. 12 skill Williams. Yeah. I think I've said this before. Yeah, I will when I stop doing this professionally. I would like to dive into the 12 skill Tamiya kits. I want to do the Martini shot Brabham BT55. I think that's the right one. It's Gordon Murray. One of Gordon Murray's early designs. I love the triangular side pods. Michael Lucci, how's it going, man? Got another one. Martin, welcome. Can use a normal cubic. Yeah, Martin. Okay. All right. So, where was I at? Let me just put this down here real quick. Set it aside. Just rejuicing. So when you use the oil pallets over last 2-3 days, the top parts kind of dry out. So what I do is get my face off camera. And I take a knife and I kind of just slice them. Just kind of get to the inner parts that are still good, still workable. And just put a little drop of thinner on it. Just kind of keeps them a little bit on the hydrated side. They get hot in the summertime too. This will let your palette be workable for the next hour or two. And I'll do this probably once or twice before I call it a day on the palette and retire it to make a new one. So I think we've talked about that before, about 2, 3, 4 days in this kind of heat and weather. What we do, I had it sealed up I put my oil palette in the little Tupperware container. This is the IKEA one. Well, by the way, these are a set of 17 for $5.99 at IKEA. I walked through the other day and I saw them. I almost got another grouping, but I don't need 8 million containers. I got enough. Zaldef, are your oils from Metro? Yeah, all the stuff's in the description, all the listings of everything. So you can go back to all the streams and all the oil paints, what brands, what I'm using. The bulk of them are 502. Bryce said, last time you mentioned the German guns, which are all dark gray, and then I looked carefully at several photos. Yeah, no, it's Bryce. When you study that, you can see it. And against a Panzer gray, it looks darker. And then, of course, against the Dunkelgelb 3 tones, it stands out pretty easily. But what's happened is obviously your large gun barrels, naval armor, they have a shelf life, 300-400 rounds before they start going bad. I don't know the number. I was reading something about a Japanese cruiser on Instagram. Some dude posted these really cool photos from World War II, and he said some of the lifespan was about 350, 400 shots through a large naval gun barrel. So I imagine a tank gun barrel is relatively similar. But yeah, so they come from the factory in that heat-resistant gray primer. My Tiger 1, I use it. I use it occasionally. I don't try not to overdo it, but I like the look of it for sure. First time live, Joe Casarini from New York. Good luck to Huffnagel's friend. Yeah. On a side note, yeah, David Doyle. Yeah, if you guys aren't so Mike texted me or DM'd me Instagram about reference books, and if you guys aren't familiar with David Doyle, he's an American author, research author, if you will. He provided a lot of photograph material for the Squadron in action reference books, and then ampersands, Allied Axis, and stuff of that nature. And when ampersand went away, David Doyle picked up a lot of the rights to publishing, so he's reprinting a lot of those reference books for American publishers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good source for low cost reference books. They're not J.J. Fedorowicz level, but they're also not $150 either. Yeah, IKEA and dollar store, all that stuff. Good times. Okay. So the StuG III. So I put the tracks on just to see how they look. And these are the early winter kittens. So they don't fit. So this is why you test fit at least once or twice. So they are kind of being a little bit tougher on the sprocket. So you can see how the drive sprocket teeth aren't fitting super flush. So they're a little bit tight. So I'm gonna have to go in and adjust the sprockets. I saw that last time and I didn't get around to doing anything with them. And I like to run my German stuff pretty tight. I don't go for the heavy sag looks anymore. And one of the reasons is the Friul models will loosen up over time. Because they're basically identical. Those pins in there will shift and adjust and it'll kind of stretch, if you will. So I typically mount my Panzer IIIs and IVs in particular on the tighter side of life. And you can see this is about the same, but this is also 10 years older and the tracks have loosened up. And so those will stretch over a little bit. So you probably get about a 0.5 mil to 1 millimeter stretch. And that's enough to give it a little bit extra sag down the road. You can see how that top run there. That's about what I like. I like an in-service combat look. I don't like those real heavy, droopy, saggy tracks. I just think that's a little bit on the fanboy side of things, and I think the reality is crews just don't run that sloppy. Occasionally you'll see a photo like that, but usually they'll stop and tighten back up because they know they'll throw a track, they're screwed. So most tank crews are on point with their track sags. And most photos confirm that pretty true, that, you know, we'll take good care of the tracks. James and Frost found this book about Sherman history. Yeah, the RP Honeycutt, that's been reprinted, I think. That's why you can find it. That used to be one of the Bibles. Chris Pabs, it's always a good day when you roll through. Because I was repainting Gunpla all weekend, my friend. I'm really happy with that scheme, by the way. Kind of that pale gray and cream off-white on my Don Tropin. It's for you, Chris. It won't be clean though, but it'll be kind of not overly weathered either. I'm gonna pull that restraint hat bag on the Dom Tropin and keep it kind of tight. I'm not gonna go too nuts. So Matt 58, anything. So this is kind of holds true. Thank you, Chris. It's it holds true. eBay is kind of your giant store now, Matt. I know a lot of people don't like eBay, but I tell you what, man, if you can't find something, chances are good it's on eBay. But yeah, I don't know what the RP Honeycutt book is currently going for. It was about a $50 to $75 book, right? It went out of print for a long time back in the day on Missing Links. You'd all be like, hey, where do you get your RP Honeycutts? Yeah, it's one of the Bibles, Allied guys, RP Honeycutts. The Sherman stuff from Ampersand back in the day too are very good reference books, very detailed. Pat Sanza was an expert in the tank. So, and then his Ken Loff, was it Kurt Laughlin? Sorry, apologies for that. He's also one of the co-authors, and those guys know their stuff. Yeah, it's tough, George. But I mean, it's, you know, if you can't find anything, it's oftentimes you're gonna have to default to it. That's what I'm saying is. You know, if you can't find something, chances are you're going to find it there, and it's just kind of what you got to do. Bite the bullet. How do you strip paint on Gunpla? Heard their plastic is on the softer side. Try not to. I hate stripping paint, man. Like, that's like in the top 3 things of the things in life I hate doing. Yeah, thank you. At this point, it is still clean. Yeah. But it's cool. I had to put some effort into that guy. That orange, I was in an orange and white scheme, which I didn't dislike, but I wasn't getting the vibe. You know what I mean? Which you do. You get what I'm saying. So I had to get a little bit more into. But anywho, so this dude. So I'm gonna put a little towel down here. We're going to take these tracks off. And then we'll get to some weathering. Okay, so underneath with the frill tracks, you can see I've got my pins here. You keep the last one long, and I actually keep them long this way the whole time. I don't ever trim the final ones off. You never know when you're going to need to take the tracks off the model. So with these guys, you have to get them off the teeth of the sprocket. You just feed them out real gentle. They'll catch on the shock absorbers and stuff. That's why it's so stressful. If they get caught on stuff, you're like, hey, what's going on? This is why it took like a half hour to get them on. Got to jiggle it out of there. All right. Yeah, removal's way easier. Sometimes vertical, I hold them vertical too. Sometimes. Just gotta manage it. This is why you get to do this about once or twice before your patients or the model's so delicate you can't do this anymore. But you do have to test fit them at least once to see that everything is good. That's usually what I recommend. Because right now it's unweathered. You know, I can handle a little bit. And I can fix anything that breaks or goes wrong at this point in time without it being a major deal. But I like the colors, that kind of dark brown. It's going to work okay. Okay, there it goes. I got that. So what it's doing is it's catching in those little fender brackets up in there, and it catches on the top of the shock absorber and all that stuff. So it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. But anyway, these guys are all metal. They can handle a bit of muscle without breaking. Yeah, the colors came out pretty good. See how it sells some of these? See, this is what I'm talking about. It did this on its own, where you get a couple of the links come out darker with the burnishing. Those are sweet. There's no pigments on there yet. This is just the raw burnished Sector 35 from last time. And this one had some pigments on it from the track and wheels, or the track and wheels episode, a couple episodes ago. So yeah, I like to test fit the tracks, make sure everything's good to go. It's telling me I gotta sand the sprockets, so that's gonna be my task coming up in the future because they're not fitting perfectly well. And that's aftermarket. You have to adjust. You know, it's the same with any aftermarket process you're using. You know, you're always gonna have to adjust and make fine tuning, whatever. Whatevs. Everybody good? Any questions before I get rolling here? Pulling the oils. Two Hands, New York. What's up? Decided to catch live today so I can say hi. Can't chat on the TV and watch rerun night. The fam's asleep. No, you're good. Did that make sense to you though? What I mentioned on the comment? If you're gonna run because like I said, we'll do that whole alcohol hairspray thingy in a couple of weeks with the mission models and all that stuff. And I just, like I said, it's gonna be a lot of like testing type processing to make sure it's all really easy to do and everything. But yeah, if you're gonna run the alcohol through the airbrush, it's probably what's causing guys additional issues down the road. That's what I kind of discovered. The alcohol does not play well with it. So if you're cleaning airbrushes with alcohol, that's going to be another reason why some of you guys probably have these sneaky problems. Like, what is this happening with the paint? Okay, get my brushes. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw, King Arts was having a sale. 45% off site-wide. You know what was sold out? All of them. All the number 2 King Art brushes, Golden Taklon, were entirely gone. I was laughing so hard the other day when I saw that. That's all you guys. And they're probably going like, what the fuck? What is going on? Why is it happening? What am I doing here? Put this guy here. Okay. So I get my little cup of thinner, get my palette, got my brushes, got my eyeballs. Manny, how are you? Let's see. Some double-sided tape. I had to buy a new double-sided tape too the other day. It's harder to find anything. All right, cool. Useful colors here. Okay, almost set. Okay, so just a quick recap where we left off. We're just going to keep on going. So we got the bulk of this. So at this stage, what I'm doing is, like I said before, is I'm doing everything about the fender and I'm just weathering the paint right now. I'm not worried about the pigments that are going to come later and getting all things kind of dusty and dirty in terms of the mud effects and earth effects. I'm getting some oil dust down just for color and whatever. But what I'll do next after this, and I think I'll try to get the whole side done today, and maybe some life color on the exhaust back here too. But I think what we'll do is we'll get the weathering down the fender here, and then we'll throw it up here, and then we'll blow some pigments down, and we'll get some road wheels going too, so you can see that process too. It's all about the brush. It's all about our tools, right? We're tool hose. I'm gonna put the palette off camera a little bit. All right. Any final questions? Did I get my half point chip? Use Tresemme for head. Get off with a rather stiff. You're right. Too little hairspray and too much. Okay, cool. Okay, that worked out. That you asked that before, right, Scotty? Yeah, as long as the solutions are clear. Have you ever used tape as a way of pulling up paint over here? Why would you do that though? Like is it trying to pull a ball of tape? Yeah, I mean, I suppose for what, I guess if it's a larger project, you know, I don't work in those scales, so I've never have. I kind of know what you mean, like a sticky tack ball of kind of pulling the stuff up. Yeah, you could. I mean, if you're doing this stuff, I mean, you're probably in the experimental stages, so it's kind of half a dozen of one, six of another, risk reward. I don't know what size you're gonna be rolling in. You know, if you're in 6 scale or some larger sci-fi stuff, you can really beat up this kind of delicate work. You know, even aircraft and stuff like that. I would probably be too hesitant to do that. Even I would be like, nah, that's too much of a risk for me. And again, there's, you know, destroying paint. There's a 1,000 ways to destroy paint. If you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good. Okay, sweet. Yeah. How big are you talking? 2 hands? What are we talking about? Like a slave one, or I'm trying to think what you could use something like that for. Because even that's a smaller model. You know, if you get into like studio scale. Okay, so light to dark, my friends. That's probably too high. I never quite know the. Oh, that's a little better. I'm trying to get the angle for the camera just right. So we're gonna weather right up. Should have enough brush. Yeah, okay, sweet. Yeah, I fine-tuned the camera angles and stuff a little bit from the last stream to this stream. I have a new microphone today too. It's a little bit smaller, less intrusive. So everything good? Everybody cool? All right, let's do it. Let's roll. 12:30, that's not too bad. Always be making fun of me. Oh, it takes an hour to fucking say hi. Being a good host. Gotta get you guys in the groove. I have to roll in too. You just gotta like sit down and do this. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get in and get your groove on a little bit, kind of work it in a little bit. You know, we got to get the oils kind of flowing on the brush a little bit. So I'm just loading up a little bit on the juicy side. Make sure all my angles are good, everything good. Okay. So light to dark, I'm gonna lay down some just kind of little dust colors, same as before. I'm gonna work a little bit faster today. A little bit more my real speed, so you guys can kind of see the difference a little bit. We'll kind of see if we can move this along. Last stream I was kind of slowing it down so you guys get a real good look of brush work and stuff like that. So I'm doing kind of a great. I'll tell you the colors as I go, and then the color will be listed out in the description. Kind of a grayish tan, just kind of putting in the corners right now. Kind of a general wash, but I'm not bleeding it everywhere. I don't want it to like just flow all over the place. I want some concentrations where I want the concentrations. So I'm kind of manually doing this, if that makes sense. Just kind of drawing around everything. Try to get in the hard to reach spots first. Let's be kind of behind this the big jack thing. Now some of the stuff you could leave off if you wanted to. Again, as I'll repeat, I bought the model this way, so some of this you can leave off if it's easier for you to get around. It's not the end of the world, to be honest with you, though, if you know what I mean. I'm gonna throw some dust up on the tools a little bit too. So the base of the foot's gonna get pretty dirty. And I'm kind of just putting it down right now. I'm not being super concerned. None of this is hyper important. This is early stages. So this is, you can see that, there's going to be kind of a tide mark developing there. You guys get concerned with that. That's what it starts to look like. To pay attention to those a little bit. So again, it's just kind of a grayish tan, kind of a cool dust color. It's not super yellow or red. Let's get some stuff down in here too. A lot of this will be covered up, so I'm not going to be super concerned about this, but it's just getting some early stage color down. It's probably a touch too wet on that, but that's okay. Oh, gotta get the backside. Right up in there. Just gonna get the back of this jack real quick. There's some little rivets and stuff, details down on there. This just kind of gives a little bit of a general dust on there. Nothing fancy. Nothing too fancy. Got good music out today too. Okay, so let's do some initial kind of blending out. Too many track sets in this guy. So just kind of watch, just to real slow that down for you guys. You can see that brush motion. So I'm reaching in and I'm just pulling back really fast there. And then what that does is, see how that edge is now gone? And we can do it this way. Oops. Yeah, right there. So we'll kind of go in the vehicle motion from this one, just a little bit. And it's just pulling some of that dust into the middle there. And then from the back of the fender where that tail light is, same thing. This is a gentle blending, nothing special. That just makes sure there's no tide marks going to happen on this that I'm not going to be aware of. And if you're putting light colors down on a color like a base color like this, like a whitewash or a light beigey, I know a buddy of mine was doing this too the other day, and this kind of heat, if you're struggling with that, where it's like the color's fighting you and it's not working, I see you there, Schubert. You sometimes put a little bit of thinner down on the surface first, pre-wet it, and the oils will work a little bit better if it's kind of too hot, or if it's light on light, or if it's like a white color on a dark green and it's staining. Pre-wet that surface, and then that'll give you a little bit extra juice to flow with. Question Schubert asked, Sebastian asked, pigments and weathering tend to flake off over time and still leave fingerprints. Yeah, don't touch them, brother. Do you have just an all acrylic? Yeah, it's OPR. So what you're seeing is that, Sebastian. If you have like if you're a train guy or Warhammer or something, OPR, the weathering, it's paint. So yeah, if you're using, there's nothing you can do to pigments outside of putting resin in it that will make them undestroyable, like if you touch them or whatever. And then the fixers will bind into the model a little bit stronger. So if you're having that issue with their fall off. The model here, this one here, let me just show you real quick. This is 2010, Sebastian. So they don't come off like if you do it properly. So you're probably not using enough of a fixer. See those road wheels right there? Those have been on there for 10 years. So it's not flaking off or anything. And it's been traveled around in the airplanes and shows and stuff like that. So it's probably just a fixer issue for you, or just switch to another process if you have to touch it, if you're whatever you're doing. So you can see how we've color harmonized that fender now. So we've got this work over here from a couple days ago, and then now we've got the same light to dark. And see how I've got some of the colors of the blue, gray, Panzer gray underneath, not blue gray, but the Panzer gray underneath showing through. So what I do need to do, let's do jack. Yeah, we'll work on the jack for a second. Work on jack. I'm late. Greetings from Spain. How are you? JRRD65. Watch his gunpla weathering. Mike shows how to create dust and more. Yeah, they usually go through dust all the time, Sebastian. There's quite a few of the streams. Anything that says weathering in the title, there's probably this process. And I always work light to dark, so there's always dust going down first. We want to go a little bit darker. That's what I was doing. And if the camera does stop, which I hope it doesn't, but it's just a Wi-Fi connection issue, and I'll try to pay attention just in case. Oh, you know what I need to do? Hair dry this. Let's lock this in a little bit. It's too wet. You got to dry it off now. This is why you got to roll slow. Got to get in the groove. It takes me about 20-30 minutes to get in the groove. So this kind of locks it down. I get about 80% dry, 80-90% dry. Somewhere in there, you don't have to go like crazy. Just a hair dryer and low heat. Back to what I was doing. So I just want to darken up around some of this on this jack here. So I'm using a little bit darker tones, like a darker gray. I won't get super greasy yet, but I'm just kind of taking advantage of this spot right now. Is it me or does this song have crickets in it? I hear crickets. It's the middle of the day. I shouldn't hear crickets. And we don't have crickets too much in Oregon. Maybe in the woods. Okay, so I'm just kind of putting some shadows down under here on top of the dust, and that's why we go light to dark. It's an easier process to execute. Just kind of layering it up. It's a little bit like mapping, where I've got some of the, see how I didn't cover the dust up completely, but I just added just a little bit of dark in there. And again, there's not much thinner on this. I'm just drawing this in a little bit, kind of randomly, so to speak. And by using less thinner, and it doesn't make it muddy or wash it all around, keeps things where I want them. So if I wanted to, I can come back in. If I was working that a little bit, I want to blend this in. Come on, with a little bit of my blender brush. The red one I'm using is blenders. So see how I just kind of soften that transition right there? And there's almost no thinner on the blender brush. It's just kind of wet oil down in there. And just soften this up a little bit. It's this easy. This is how it goes usually. It's just this simple. And always kind of check my fenders a little bit and make sure that runs its vertical so there's nothing, no stains or awkward. But see how now I stopped on the left, I stopped 3 days ago, and on the right today. So I'm able to kind of easily just come in and go boom, boom, no problems. Like I could just, sorry, coach, I don't, there you are, Gary. How are you? You're not late, man, you're fine. You guys are never late, because this is always on replay. So I'm just getting some soft little shadows under the S hooks, the toe hooks, if you will. So see here, oops, right there. See this little lip right here under the intake? And just kind of pull that up vertical. Just a little bit of sand. This is how you get really precise with this, because see how sharp that tip is? So that's how you just kind of tighten that up right there. So I'm keeping it a little bit of like darker and kind of, you know, that section right there. So as we come over this way, I'll keep it darker in kind of over here towards the joints. You can see how we're already starting to get right up in here. Just trying to explain this to you guys as I go, like my mental process, what I'm talking about. This is the orange conversation in the books, the blocks of color in the Tinkart books, and the orange text in the SM. Because what I'm trying to do, you know, truthfully, is I want to have the dark, richer, wetter earth against the hull, because that's going to be the harder part for it to kind of go lighter on you. You know, it stays moister, that word, stays hydrated longer. So I've got my two color brushes here. So I get the dust on the left and then the darker gray on the right, and that's what that looks like. And then I've got one blender. So I've got 3 brushes in hand. Streams 3, 4, 5 are instrumental for me to understanding dust. Okay, sweet, Scotty. Yeah, so I'll just continue along. I'm just trying to give you guys those base explanations. Right here behind the jackbox, same thing. Continue it along. Some more color down there. And if something I put down before has been there for a little while, because it's oil, you do have a nice little window if I forget about it, because sometimes I do. I get distracted pretty easy, even when I'm off stream. Again, just kind of the same idea here. Just create a nice kind of shadowy, darker, grimier under that bracket, because that's going to be tough for anything to clean that out. You know what I mean? So the guys are going to probably use this as like a I would guess they would grab that, and then maybe they would step on the road wheel and step up and climb up over that fender right there, if that's a spot. So this is probably going to be a little bit cleaner. You just kind of, common sense it out a little bit. You don't have to go crazy, but it's kind of just what I'm doing. I'm just using a dark gray, brownish, dark green color. Just going around the brackets again. I'll blend those out in a sec. A little bit of a lip on this jack. These jacks are fun. Get this guy too. Just around the bracket. There's a little bit of a shadow. That just kind of pops up the bracket there a little bit. We'll blend that out. I meant to dry brush some steel on that, but like we did the last time. But I can still do that. So by reverse wiping this the other way, I'm wiping back to this raised lip. It's an easier process than if I were to go this way. You can see why these little lazy Susans are so nice. I know there's octopus and other dedicated stuff, but for $3, whatever. These things are awesome. You can stack them. You can buy a bunch of these little guys and stack them, like Target, Walmart, wherever. You get them all over the place. They're everywhere. Neil, how are you? From New Zealand. How are you? I think I like the minimal use of thinners, the big general slather and yeah, I stopped doing that years ago, Marino. I was like, gosh, that's a mess. Like, how you guys get away with it? Hey, what's up, Michael? Quick question. Can you chip Vallejo paints like you did with the whitewashing? So yes, like after applying the white paint, wet brush. Oh, you mean just without a hairspray in between? The Vallejo cure window is a little tighter. Maybe I would say you're not going to do that for very much longer, past 15 to 20 minutes with Vallejo, because once they start curing into their vinyl shell, that gets real difficult. But you can use a thinner. You can use their, they make that little Vallejo airbrush cleaner, kind of a thinner, and you can rub that off the paint and kind of do a similar idea. Hello, John Fossey, how are you? We had 74 degrees. Yeah, we're not too bad on the temps today. Just kind of blending out that right there. But you can see how in just a really quick, 10, 15 minutes, just working that, having to stop to talk to you guys. But, generally you can kind of get the weathering going pretty quickly. Just blend these guys up in here. I keep forgetting about them. Just around, I always darken around the brackets a little bit, kind of a false shadow. Got some extra love there, wipe that off. So I'm looking at right there, the foot of the jack. So I have to prop this a little bit. The model's so light, I love it. So I'm gonna actually hit right in here. So it's a little bit off camera, but we'll get it. Go with a little bit of a rust oil, a little more of a brown. That's gonna be kind of a chipped exposed spot. You guys see that? Okay, sweet. Just the foot of this jack. It's kind of super delicate, not being crazy. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of a darker brown here. Almost dry. Of gunky oil, not too bad. Let me wipe that off a little bit. That's just kind of how precise I like to work. But see how dry this particular part is? There's almost no thinner on there, but there's enough that it's pliable, which is what you want. Because now I'm going to kind of dry brush the lip of this a little bit, just kissing it with the edge of the bristles there. Oops, I'm out of focus, sorry. So I'm just kissing this little foot right here. Kind of give it a raw, just being real careful, taking my time. Oh, get that little wing nut up there too. Just taking advantage of it right now while it's kind of easy to get to. This little bracket too. You guys see all that a little bit. I'm just super delicately, just kind of gentle dry brush. Just super gentle. Just kissing it. Just rolling the bristle over kind of just hitting that high spot. There's a little wing nut there. Almost fumbled right in my face. So I'm just dry brushing these sharp edges, and this is a really nice little process. It's exactly how I did. Hold on. Same idea, same technique, identical technique. Just want to show if there's any gunpla dudes in there. Right in here, you see that right there, that little sharp dark line. It's exactly how I did that. It's the same as what I'm doing right now. Same brushes, same colors almost, just coming through over these little ridges here. And with the oil paints in this process versus your traditional brushy dry brush, you know, where you're wiping it, you can get a lot more precise with this, and you can get a lot more color intensity and a more refined result, which looks tighter and more professional. It's a pro tip. So I'm just hitting these kind of just these little edges here. Just a slight chip dry brush. Just making sure I got my brackets all nice and weathered up here. Same thing with the little fender bracket. Just hitting some of these high spots. Actually, there's a touch of a mold line on there. I'm going to use that to cheat with because I didn't sand that back down. So if I hit that mold line with the dark thing, it looks like the paint's rubbed off right there. So I'm just kissing these on here, real gentle like. There's almost no thinner on that brush. It's kind of just a brown or dark gray, green, dark brown color. Kind of a steel color. By having that model propped at that angle, it's easy for me to hit some of these. And I can kind of do the edge of the fender a little bit too. It's getting a little bit dry. This is where it's tricky. So the brush dries out. You have to kind of reset it, a little bit of thinner, get a little bit more color back in there. So kind of using my dark browns on my palette here with a little bit of a gray green. Dab that off. So it's kind of real gentle light. Again, so I've reset my brush. See how dry that is. So there is thinner in there and there's some paint on there. It's kind of, you can see kind of that grayish brown color. And that's just using the colors on the palette. Again, they're all listed in the description and stuff like that. So like, don't overthink it. Don't get crazy. It's just dark brown, gray color. Just get back. Come in here to the edge of the fender a little bit. I'll get that S hook here in a second. Let's get a little brown yunky in the fender split there. I think I talked about that way back when, but if you have Panzer 3s and 4s in particular, I'm trying to think what other fenders do this, but in the kit model, this is in the kit itself, this is one plastic piece. But what you can do to replicate kind of faking the photo etch look is take a little micro saw or razor saw and just put a little slice right under each bracket. Chink, a little chink, just like the real thing. Boom, done. It's my little photo etch hack. Okay. Where are we at? Let's say hello again. Pop my head up, check up everything good. Is this moving? Okay. Camera's working, everything good. Okay, so where are we at here? Ezekiel Cavallo says, hey, yeah, true. Oh, yeah, true. I don't remember about the thinner thing. I'll do that on my CV90 just to test it out on a piece later. Okay, cool. I used alcohol-based hairspray on my first model for shipping, and it was pooped because alcohol-based hairspray and Vallejo kind of, yeah. So that was kind of what we talked about. I touched on last stream. Like I said, I've got a dedicated stream coming up for it. all of that conversation about water-based paints and alcohol-based hairsprays and what's been happening kind of behind the scenes. Because it isn't a hard or fast rule. It's kind of one of those pliable rules where it depends on how much of what variable you've done to cause the problem. So we'll get into that more and more. But yeah, it's a deep conversation. I don't want to get sidetracked on stream doing it, but we'll definitely get into that big time. First we hoarded toilet, but now we hoard gold. It's totally, dude. I'm serious. I went in, I saw the sale because I'm on the King Arts, the link in the description, the brushes in the thing, and I'm on their whatever mailing list. Of course, those companies send you an email like 3 times a day now. It's crazy. But anywho, they're having a nice sale, and of course went right in. Number 2 brushes were gone. Okay, what do we got here? Dr. Obscure. Hi, Mike. Finally got a short shot at the live cast. Enjoying all the streams. Usually, yeah, you're totally fun. I noticed these help me understand the books. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, any questions? Yeah, anything you guys have questions about? Anything that you're reading about that maybe I can answer while we're at this? Because this is a tank art type situation. You guys are longtime customers. Thanks for the red oxide primer suggestion for TV if I happen to find some local hobby. You're welcome, Aaron. Probably start painting in another few decades. Yeah, that's the thing is I think some of you guys are almost too cautious. You know, you're too worried. You know, it's just go get a bucket of balls and hit the driving range. Just don't sweat it so much. You know what I'm saying? Like just have 1 or 2 of those, just where you just go. Don't sweat it. Just do it. And you can always redo a model. You can always do another one. It's not like T55s are going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like you can always get another kit. Edward Minto, killing it as usual. Thank you, brother. Yeah, these are fun. So we'll do some speckling here next. Just going back. And the beauty of this is, I think, like we said in stream too, this is paint. So eventually, when this fully goes off, you know, in a week or so, you are good to go, my friends. I mean, just don't get your greasy paws all over it, but I mean, it's not going to like come off or rub off. So now what I'm doing is I'm working with the contrast now. So I've got kind of the white chip base of this jack. And I believe that thing stretches out. I don't know if this one is that's the part. I think it moves out from there to get higher, taller, whatever it does. So I'm just kind of working the dirt and grime at that joint, and this builds up. By weathering the left side at this little step right there on the jack, I'm adding the contrast into this now. So there's a little bit of I quickly pop some visual contrast into that by doing that. I'll go a little bit darker right in. I think that's where it stretches right there. So I'm just popping that little shadow in there. A little greasy hand. Sometimes depending, you got to go bottom to top. You got to pull upwards. Blend, switch to blender. So I'm just kind of slightly streaking that handle out a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but just a little bit of a love. You know, just because we like our streaks, but I'm trying to keep it kind of tighter on this model. And then what I'll do is I'll work into this intake right now, and we'll get into this vertical flap here. We'll do some speckling in here, finish this up. So it's getting pretty close to where that section's pretty done how I want it to be. I'm keeping a real simple colorway for you guys. I copied TF4 right Monday. Awesome. Welcome. You're welcome, Joe. I'm not cautious at all. Just can't get white to thinner ratio no matter what I do. Are you talking about white oils, Justin? Yeah, it's the hardest paint. It could be the brand of oil. Which brand of oil are you using? Sometimes the pigments in white is a little just yucky. But like I said before, I think they bleach those so bad. So a little more shadow under this guy. You can see as these dry, I can layer these up, no problem. And when I blend stuff, what I'm doing, oops, fumble. What I'm doing is actually just blending the edge of what I've just laid down. So I'm not reworking that whole bit of oil. I was just working kind of the edge of that patch I laid down. And that's just kind of right under that jack, right in here. Just kind of softens that up a little bit. And that gives it that kind of, it's like a gritty blend. You know, I think I talked about that a little bit where I don't like the airbrush blend so much, where it's sort of too soft and perfect. This is kind of a more, I think Zal, you were asking about that in particular. How do you get that gritty? It's that where you kind of, you're putting it down a little sloppy. I mean, not crazy sloppy, but a little bit of a shadow on shadow here. Sorry for that. So I'm just kind of dabbing it in. So just kind of draw it in there right there. And then what I mean by this is all you have to do is blend the edges of it. Just quickly. And that's how you achieve that. Come in here with the master hair dryer. Hold my hand to protect it. It blows the whole. Boom, done. So this is how a lot of you guys are asking that kind of question about like the gritty weathering. That's how that's affected. And if you don't kind of like the final result, just kind of come in and play with it. Maybe someone different directions a little bit. Kind of blow on it. You can kind of not hair dry it if you don't want to all the time. So that's just quickly how you layer that stuff out. So I'll keep going here. Or brushing more, no issues, more sweet. Yep. Yeah, they're a good company. I mean, I've never really used them until recently. I didn't even know they existed. And you can see again with the weathering, I'm not worried about any of this stuff yet. We're just focused on this fender. Let's put some stipples down. So I'm gonna get some darker, grimy, gray-green color on the brush, a little bit juicier. Speckle the, okay, just make sure the speckles look good. So I've got my Tamiya stir stick is my little bit smaller, more precise. Just coming in here, just a gentle little flick of specks down. Just kind of real controlled, a little bit of a splatter. I can kind of do a little bit more back here as it's more exposed. This is just one layer of this stuff. We can always add more later. Okay, I like that. That looks pretty cool. Pretty cool. Blend some of them out. So that's how you get that second level of grittiness. It puts that right over that, and these will kind of dry up a little bit. And see, I've got a couple little splatters in here. I'm going to leave them because they're kind of natural looking, and we'll use them later. This one's a little strong. It'll happen. You'll get a little bit over spray over whatever. It's kind of the same idea. But there's some initial little stains right in here, which look pretty cool in the engine deck. So I'm just going to leave those. Actually, probably. Just pull this up. Because that's a sloped surface, we can use that to our advantage. There'll be kind of an underlay for next time. And then come in here, hair dry, hit the camera as always. Part of my routine now. Okay, there you go. Yeah. So that's how I affect the weathering over the course of section by section. You can see that back up. Okay, that looks awesome right now. So let's come in there. Our blending brush, clean it with thinner, wipe it back a little bit. Nice and sharp. Boom, camera focus. Look at that, doing its thing. Okay, I'm gonna have to get the angle just right. I'm gonna probably block the camera. It's hard to get the brush. Just gently pulling some of those down. Apologize if the brush blocks. See how we got some speckles against the intake there on the wall, on the back wall here, which is fine. This looks awesome. Looking good, Mr. Carter. Kind of knocks some of them down so they're not all the same intensity. Yeah, let me do this right. I'm gonna have to block the camera for a sec. Just knock some of those down right there in that the little vertical wall in the engine deck there. Okay. We'll come back in here. Having a good time, everybody. Good question. Do you use smaller brushes on any parts? They're all the same brushes, Robert. All the number 2s. I don't really get in. And the reason is that you're not going to get a finer point anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like the tips you can get out of this are so sharp, and it holds enough liquid for you to do your thing. I just don't. I don't ever really. You can. Don't get me wrong. It's just I don't. These work. These do the job well enough that I'm fine. If that makes sense. Okay, so let's get a little bit of this fender guy in here. So this is more of a traditional wash. We got that old dust down in there. These kind of big bolts in here. Kind of just putting a little, and this could be a little sloppy for me, and that's fine because it's going to be a kind of a crevice. It's trapped down in there. I mean, use whatever brushes you guys are comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? These are, you guys just all want to know what I use, so like whatever executes the plan for you is going to be. Can you see that there? I'm just pulling up vertical, going from bottom to top. Because it's so hard to wipe the other way to get these to go upwards. Just working this little lip of the fender back here right now. There's a little bit of thinner down in there, so I don't need to add too much more thinner. You can see it kind of, yeah, okay. Let's get up in there. Get up in there. You can get as greasy and grimy and dirty as you want down in there. Again, I'm trying to keep this model as relatively clean for what it is. You know, I mean, it's, okay, so we're gonna flip the back end up a little bit this way. These little sanding sticks, they grip each other so they hold nicely, okay. So now what I can do is, and I don't have my headlight painted in there either, but that's okay. I usually do those last anyway. I mean the headlight, the tail light. It's the back, dumb shit. Okay, all right. So now I'm gonna go ahead and work the back edge of this in here, all this stuff on the other side. So you have to kind of get your angles right so you can see this stuff. Because you can see how I kind of missed underneath there. So just trying to dab in there and get that nice concentration. But see, if I start flowing too much wet oil down in there, it's just gonna go into like a general wash look, and it's not gonna give me that gritty opacity that I'm looking for. So it's worth a little bit of extra effort to do it this way. It's kind of trying to get a little bit of grease in that handle there. It's a little bit on the wetter side than I wanted, but that's okay. I don't want to lose all those nice speckles. I saved it. So just a little bit of like a dirty filter went across that without washing those speckles off. And the speckles are kind of a happy accident idea. Let me try this again real quick. Because sometimes you get speckles when you're flicking paint around, so you're going to get you know, paint everywhere sometimes. So you will get some speckles where you don't expect them. But that's okay. Just use them. So we're moving along good. My hands are stiff and tight. So I'm trying to keep some of that whitewash white up in here. So I'm trying not to go too crazy right now. You can go as intense as you want, of course, whatever you're trying to do, but just trying to keep my project in focus a little bit. Jeff Lamb, I saw a video of what, hey Mike, what's up? I was going to do a video on the, no, I probably won't. I don't use ammonia-based paints. So, or, you know, I just don't. I'm not going to. It's not something I'm going to do. There's enough info online about that anyway, if you need to know. Okay, I got a little bit of a stain in here. So I'm just checking my work right now to make sure all my stuff I put down, I didn't miss anything. And I have to get to the intake still. I haven't really touched that spot yet. I'm just looking at the jack. Now that I got the angle up there, I got to grease up the jack on this side too. So yeah. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus that. That's actually a hole through right under right here. So the mud and stuff will come up through that. Do you smell? Yeah, okay. Brushes and more.com. That's a King Arts. Oh, okay. The Route 420. There you go, Dominic. I didn't see that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's good. The brushes, yeah, sweet. Oh, one of them is Jethro Cathcart. You never use sealers or clear coats. Never is a strong word, my friend. The answer is no, not no to never. Yes, I do use them, just not all the time. I stupidly try to hand paint. What'd you say? Would you go, Aaron? What'd you say? Would you stupidly try to do hand paint my photo etch parts for my first model since being 12? How old are you, Aaron? Are we talking 20-year difference, or are we talking like 5? And good Lord, how do people do it when they jump off? Okay, so with photo etch, real quick, because I know Mark Weens, you asked earlier. I don't have any handy. First thing you got to do is you got to sand your photo etch. So when you get your photo etch sheets, take a 400. Doesn't have to be much. Don't go crazy. Just scuff them all up. Just knock that top brass layer off. That kind of just get them all scuffy. You don't have to sand them through or anything, but just you want to scuff all that polished part up, and then prime them, and then you should be good. Usually you're pretty good to go with that. That'll if you're painting raw over metal, Aaron, yeah, you're gonna have trouble. So that's that's why I always recommend primer. I talk about clear coats quite a bit though. Where'd you go? Who said that? Jethro. I talk about clear coats and sealers quite a bit, but with OPR and oil, it's paint. There's no need for it. Just you mean you can, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not telling you not to, but I don't find the need to. The primary reason though, this guy, something, got a little spot right there. Yeah, there we go, nice. He was hiding on me. The main reason, Jethro, when you get to upper level finishes. Everything, so this is a matte coat. Everything's laid down as a matte. And what I'm doing is through all this work here, as I rotate this through, the camera will catch it a little bit. I need to weather up in there actually. You're going to get variations and real subtle variations in your sheen, because as you use the brushes on a matte paint, you're slightly burnishing it. And so you're going to get variations in that. And that causes a really hyper realistic finish to it. And this is, and I say this in a very serious note. You guys constantly ask me this, and I'm not getting mad or anything like that. I'm just emphasizing this fact. It's the most irrelevant comment ever, because it doesn't mean anything to the final result. And if you're going to go in and win a contest, and this isn't for the guys that handle their models, I'm not talking about the dudes that, you know, are playing with the stuff like a war, let's say playing, but use them like a war game or a train or something where you have to physically handle this a lot. I'm talking display model competition level stuff where it goes on a base and it sits on a shelf. You will see all this stuff. And as soon as you clear coat it, it's gone forever, ever. And so this is why I do it that way. And because this is paint on paint, there's no need to clear it. You're not taking outside. And a clear coat is, you know, like on a car, it's because it's outside. If this is inside on my shelf, nothing's ever going to happen to it. And I've got stuff here. That model behind me that I showed is a decade old. You know, I mean, like this is 10 years old and nothing's ever happened to it. And it's been traveled with and taken around and everything like that. And this is what I'm talking about, where you're going to lose. It's you see right there on the edge of that right in there. You get a little bit of a hot spot and all that kind of stuff. That's all from this brushwork, like on the tools where they're kind of slightly shinier, but the fender isn't. You start clear coating all that, it's all gone, dude. And I tell you what, when you look at a model contest table, you will see it. It will look like a scale model. And it's an important element on the finer side of up in your game. So take it to heart if you want to really try to incorporate it to really advance. That's kind of, the judges will notice that kind of stuff, especially an experienced judge. So it's one of the things that it's just, the clear coating conversation drives me insane with just like, it's the obsessiveness with it. It's way too much. Remember, paint by its first primary purpose is protection. So all paint is designed primarily to protect. From there, it goes to color, aesthetics, and camouflage. So the paint itself will hold up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, unless you're going to put something even in the sunlight, which I wouldn't think anybody's really going to do as a scale modeler, you know, you got to think about what you're trying to do with that. So the clears have a purpose. It's just not an obsessive level purpose that I think a lot of people get hung up on. I get that. It's probably every 10 questions, there's 7 out of 10 questions are clears and all that, clear coats and all that stuff. So yes, I use them quite a bit, just not for what is often talked about. So if you sand the PE with, there's some photo etch primer, just sandwich it between the PE bender over the edge so you can sand without bending it. Yeah, that too. Yeah, hopefully that helped, Mark. You're welcome. Aaron 35. Okay, yeah. So it's been a while. Okay, cool. I was trying to figure. Marco, you asked, what do you mean by saying opacity? So opacity refers to how opaque, how solid. We talked about this before. Let's see here. Make sure I don't want to touch it with an ink brush. Fuck it up. Oh, I got some speckles over there. Hold on. So some happy speckles happened over here. Let's pull some of those down. Good thing I looked. Some are dried pretty good, but that's okay. Happy speckles. So right in here, this is less opaque, Marco. This is more opaque. The white is more opaque, so more solid. The light transparency. So I play with the opacities and transparencies to get kind of the depth to the finish, because you want the gray to show through here, because that's where it gets worn off the most, and then it's least worn off down low where nobody can really get to it, so the white will stay there longer, so you can keep that paint more opaque. That makes sense, hopefully. Abrasive block. Yeah, there's a ton of ways to prep photo etch, but the easiest way is just sanding it and then a primer. So knock that metal shininess off, and then you do it like there's different kinds of primers, but the regular primer too. If you're just gonna paint some brackets and stuff, you'll be okay. Fender might require more. You're welcome, Mario. Yes, Zal. Nothing happens to it. The answer is an emphatic yes on your question, Zal. If the hairspray underneath withstands, yes. It's acrylic, but again, good question, Zal. to remind everybody, the reason, and you see this in the historical modeling for a long time, acrylic base coat, solvent-based weathering, it won't affect the acrylic base coats at all. So once that's down, that solvent won't interact with all that stuff. So you're good to go, Zal. That's why we do that. It's very reliable. It's a very trustworthy system of acrylics and then solvents on top. Okay. Questions? We good? Did we catch everybody up? We get it all handled? That was the coach at too, by the way, Jethro, on that. Yeah, you're welcome. That was the coach saying, hey man, if you want to go for gold, that's what we're talking about. It's getting you, you know, our sprinters on the track, it's getting you that last 10th. That's what we're talking about here. It's that level of importance. But if you handle it, you know, like a war gamer or something, or a train guy, rail guy, I'm doing a two-tone paint, green over dunkel, go use a hairspray. You can, if it depends on how you want to chip it out, Neil. It's just going to depend on your end game. If you want to show the green chipped over the base color and then the yellow on top and then that chipped over that, or if they're side by side, you know, if they're side by side colors, you know, kind of a thing. It depends on kind of the look you're going for. But yes, you can do it either way, with or without. I think we're good. Okay, let's do it. Remember what I was doing again. Okay. Lots of questions. You guys are chatty. Yeah, it would kind of depend, Neil, if your idea was like you have what are those? What's the place in Canada they run the field exercises with, like the Chieftains and the Challengers, where I forget the name of the facility. It's always a base yellow. I think they sprayed over the green base camos. You get Chieftains and Challengers and all the FV 432s or whatever APCs and the Commonwealth stuff, all in those great two-tone green and yellows. Greg Riley, good evening from the UK. So let's get up in. That's too wet. I'm gonna go a little bit of a richer, deeper brown earth in here, because this is where it's exposed. Let me get that thinner out of there. I got too wet. So it's blurry. Let's knock that down. So I'm trying to right under this little intake area where I've got that big chip. That I don't like the chip, but I don't really care. It's all good. Oops, stay. These kind of spongy little sticks are great. They grab everything. They're lightweight. Okay. So right up there at the top of the window there, the screen here, just trying to get a little bit more brown gray, richen this color up. We can get under the back of that casemate down there. Oh, we got a piece of fuzz in there too. I'm gonna block the camera for a second. Trying to just build this up a little bit. Just kind of running the brush down in there. Just adding some dust to this a little bit. I mean, I could have done this before, but I was kind of just moving along the horizontal first. And I'm going to redo the S-hook with a little bit of dry brushing too. So I will attend to it in a little bit. And then we'll get to the pigments and stuff. Okay, we're good. Running good today, my friends. There we go. Just wasn't getting a good color transfer there. Just pulling from the bottom to the top. There's just enough space to get that bristle down in there. I've done enough of these to know you can work the brush down. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you can do it. Just jiggle it, jiggle it, jiggle it. pulling some streaks up over onto the intake grill. This one you can kind of general wash it out a little bit. I don't have to be super happy. Just a little bit of a dirty filter on the grill intake there. Get my little angle Jimmy Jam dude here. Okay, switch to this guy. Just a little bit of like stipple. This is just kind of getting that first general color down on top of that metal grate. Let's dry this off. So that gets that color down on that. Now what we can do, this goes over here. Okay. Confused myself there for a second. Okay, question. Do you, on your 40th Persian, I saw an interview you had mentioned that you had changed the way you painted it. Mentioned that you could have changed the way you painted it. On the 40th Persian? What did I say, Sebastian? I don't remember the interview. CFB Wainwright. Yeah, question. Okay. Oh, is that? Thank you, Wayne. Is it Wainwright? Is that what that is? That Canadian Fire? Is it Canadian Fire Base? I thought it starts with the B. Wainwright doesn't sound correct to me. What's the? Is it not Barton? Burton? My brain is not working. I mean, I don't disbelieve you, Wayne. I remember a different term. Maybe it's the city or the region where the Canadians train up there in the field during the summer. They always paint their stuff green and yellow. Maybe it's Wainwright. I don't know. I thought it was a different name. I could be wrong. I'm trying to remember, Sebastian, on your 40 scale Persian, I saw your interview you had. You mentioned you could change the way you painted it. The only one I remember that would have changed was the Tank Art 3, the T72. The Pershing was painted in kind of the color modulation. Tank Art 2. Let me just see. Give you a complete answer, my friend. This guy he's talking about. So I did the Tamiya paint down. This one I don't think, did I say something like that? I don't remember the interview. CFB Borden? Maybe that sounds, it's Alberta? Okay. I mean, I believe you guys. I thought it started with the B, but it's pretty well known. They do it on a routine basis where they go up there, and then by the time those things are done, those two-tone temporary paint jobs are just beat to shit. It's one of the better modern British Commonwealth Canadian Forces reference stuff, like Reforger in Germany. I think that's Toronto. That was years ago. So I'm not sure what I'm talking about, Sebastian, to be honest with you. I don't know if I would have painted this one differently, because what I was doing was the lacquer thinner treatment to get the burnished olive drab. So we put the dark OD down first, and then we put a light OD, and we did this in one of the streams on the a while back to get this look. I forget the number of what stream we did that on, but yeah. You're welcome, Mark. Have a good one, buddy. Thank you for the support too, all the stuff you've been doing lately. I appreciate that. Okay, so yeah. I'm not sure, Sebastian, what I meant, to be honest with you. The only one I would have probably done differently is this guy. Maybe the weathering, Sebastian, because I'm doing more to it in the Tank Art 2 redo. What am I on? I'm on Tank Art 3. What am I looking for? This is the only one I really had trouble with, and I left it in the book because it's a really good, like, it's a teaching moment for everybody, and it was just kind of. So what had happened here was to get all this color modulation, this really subtle kind of coloring using Vallejos, the opacity built up too much. And then what happened was it was so opaque, the paint was so thick and opaque, to everybody with the opacity question, the water wasn't getting down to the hairspray that was under this. So I had to switch to a Tamiya thinner and rub it away with liquid sandpaper, basically. Batches, I think that's what it was. Thank you, Darren. I think that's what I'm talking about. I think that's what it is. Thank you. I knew somebody was listening to me. Yeah, thank you. It is Baptist. That's what I said. I swear it started with a B. And it was like an ag. Yeah, okay, thank you. I love you guys. So I keep you around. Oh, you a beer, brother. So anyway, to Sebastian, your question. This was the only one I really remember that I would have shifted gears on. Maybe not that scheme. Maybe it would have been more conscious of how I did it, but CFP board. Yeah, I definitely think it was Baptist. It's Baptist. Yeah, it's Baptist. Thank you guys. So anyway, to the green and yellow conversation question, that's what I would actually look at because that stuff is money as a two-tone coloring reference of that. And you can see by even when I get sidetracked and all this kind of stuff, I think one thing, there's no stress here, guys. This is really low key. I've used 2 or 3, 4 colors to kind of weather that up a little bit. So we've continued that on. So you can see how you can easily harmonize between sections over periods of time. And again, it's paint. So this is boom. Luke, how are you? Welcome. So I'm getting my blender brush in the paint. A little sloppy. Yeah, pulling the big book out on the desk with the little camera right here in front of us. So that's probably, let me do a little bit more on the intake grill there. Thank you guys for that, Baptist. It reminds me, that's one of the schemes I've always really wanted to do, something from that. Like all the peacetime training stuff in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, dude, those are some of the things I've for modern stuff I've really wanted to. And some of the crazy Murdex schemes, U.S. Armor stuff. I think TACM's making a lot of the kits now in these schemes. They're starting to tap into the research dudes that are into that. I think that's how that's going. I think Charlie Pritchett and all those guys, they push a lot of that. I think, I don't know if they're still involved in all that. I don't know who's what anymore. I'm so out of the loop with all that stuff. I'm vaguely remembering, but yeah, I do see the kits come and go. I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that. Somebody's got to do one of them T29, T30s and like a what if Murdeck with the reddish Adobe color and then browns and blacks, hard edge, 4-color, whatever. Do it. Take my idea and go for it. I'll never get to it. It's gonna be 20 years before I get to that shit. But I want to. Okay, so let's go a little bit rustier red-brown here, because these are just unarmored shit grills. You can probably barbecue on this stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here. Same idea as before. A little bit of a dry brush in that sharp edge there. A little bit more of a rust tone in there. A little bit heavier. It's a little bit heavy right there, but we'll blend that out. And when you have whitewash schemes, be careful with how much rust you put down, because it'll look really stark and unrealistic sometimes. So now we're just blending, just kind of soften that up a little bit. Oops, the grill is brush here. Just jiggling the bristle right along the back edge of that. It's a little dry, so get a little thinner in it. Get the fuzz out of there. Some fuzzies. Just a little quick. Yeah, it's pretty dry. You would have seen this sheen even blurry. Steady my hand here. Just trying to, you guys see that? Yeah. Zoomed in and out. Just taking my time. Having a good time. Just trying to tighten that little rusty edge up as much as I can. The finer, tighter that looks, the sweeter it's gonna be. I'm just checking the vertical side a little bit. I can come in here. Because this is a 2-part system where there's a base and then there's a grill bolted on top, there's a little lip in there. Just like what we did on this guy over here, right over here on the right side. Just kind of get that out of my mouth. It's hard to talk like that. Just define that little bit of a, right under the edge of that grill lip, right where those parts kind of match. And you just kind of redefine a little bit. See, there's a little bit of a definition. Now we can clean that up. Stuff's drying. It's getting pretty hot. Already 75. It's probably 90, probably 45, 46 degrees outside already. Yeah, there we go. So just a slight separation there. And I can push it up a little bit. Now what I can do too as well. So I've got a little bit of the russes, a little bit of a lighter tone. We can come in with a darker brown, kind of a greasy, dark brown, blackish color a little bit, which I haven't really used a lot on this model just yet, but we can come in here right in that same spot. Just a little bit of a darker color right in there. It didn't transfer enough. The brush is a little too dry. You know, that brown oil's dried up pretty good. Clean this up. Sometimes when the palette starts to dry out a little bit, you do fight the oil transfer a little bit. End of life days on this palette. Get some oil out of it. Up there. Okay, try again. Try again. There we go. Just kind of. Quick. Do it one more time. It didn't quite go perfectly. Thank you, TJ. Do they have a 70-second scale one? Has anybody made a 70-second scale T29 yet? They need to do that so TJ can build like 50 of them right away. He's like Mr. Lightning Quick with this 70-second scale stuff. Okay, I lost a little bit of the definition there. I'm not getting any oil transfer. I don't know what's going on here. You'll see the color pop. I'll just use a different color. That brown must be too dry. It's coming off the brush. It's just not coming on the model. Just get on there. What it's doing. All right, kind of dry brush a little bit. It's just that one spot. It's not really getting me a transfer on there. Okay, I can clean that up. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but it just wasn't quite. You can see that screen. Just kind of pull that color back a little bit. It's a little bit more interesting. It's a little heavy-handed for what I wanted, but it'll work. Good enough for government. I gotta get that inside Jimmy Jam too. Hold on one second. See that little lip sticking out? If the paint's not transferring, just get a little more thinner on it. Just darken it. Okay. All right, good enough. Good enough. Good enough. All right, let's get dirty. Get this guy out of here. This guy out of here. Okay, any questions? We're gonna switch to pigments. We'll do so. What do I need here? Okay, so whenever I do pigments, I think you guys are well versed in what I talk about here is set everything on its side. So I'm gonna put some paper towels across the bench a little bit here. So this kind of stuff, like if it's a turreted tank, I usually have the turret off. I don't ever do this with the turret on, but it's a StuG, so we can do this. Let me see if I have that picture anywhere handy. I think it's in this book. So we're gonna do, well here, we'll show this guy too. Because we like me some head search, don't we? That's a Panzer IV. Call me a liar. So we're gonna do this right in here, all this fun stuff. So again, model's on its side. That's 48 scale. And then there's Big Dog, and then this guy, which is the model I've been, yeah, we'll do this right here. We'll do a little bit different version of it, but this is the model I've got behind me. That turned out pretty nice. I like that. I shouldn't have weathered that so much afterwards. That turned out pretty good. Okay. Everybody good? You out here, Brian? You got it, man. Privet, Rosso, how are you, man? How is it in Moscow? What time is it over there? Midnight or so? Rollout Commanders, good evening from Switzerland. I nearly forgot this was going on. Oh, you're fine. Welcome. We're just getting into pigments. We weathered up. Recap, you guys rolling in late. So we weathered this the other day, and then we moved over and we weathered all this over here. So now we're going to roll it up on its side. We're going to lay down some pigments. So this is a Mission Models paint job, so I'm just going to use some of their thinner. Get my eyedropper. I've got my batches of pigments, and I'll talk about this real quick. I'll recap on this. So I actually don't recollect the names of what's in TJ, you haven't done my next week. I know you will too. You're being funny, but you're also being serious. So there's about 4 or 5 light shades. In pigments, there's only so many. There's like 24, 30 colors available. So in the dust tan shades, there's what, 4 or 5 or 6. So just get them over time. Throw them in here. And then take half, put half in the medium, and to take 2 or 3 darker shades, throw them in there. My medium and light's pretty similar right now. I should make up new batches. And then the dark, you don't need as much. So take a little bit of the medium and then put in 3 or 4 darker shades. The darker one, you're gonna want a little more contrast on. The light and mediums, you kind of, a little bit tone on tone. You want kind of the depth and richness to it. So what we'll do on this one, and I don't think we'll get to the snow today, but we'll put snow on this one too. So we'll put the dirt down first, and then we'll come back in a future stream and we'll put some, I'll show you how I do my white pigments for snow with the mix of, I think it's Woodland Scenics combined with the white pigments combined with stuff to make kind of a in-scale snow that I like, kind of that tight packed snow when it gets stuck on the suspensions and stuff. So we'll do that in the future, but we'll get the dirt part down. So we'll go light to dark, just like always. I don't know if I'll do crack mud. I'm trying to think how I want to play this one out, because I want to keep the model kind of less weathered, but at the same time, I want to put this on so you guys can see this. Okay. Yeah, John, apparently you painted a female figure. I'm not paying attention to what's going on. Okay, so let's. I'm gonna take my time with this. This is a matte base underneath. Some more paint. I'm just tapping the brush on my finger. You guys can see that? Okay. And it's just an old shitty brush. And I don't even know where I got it from. It will not be linked in description. Oh, I can't laugh, sorry, because I'm gonna blow this room. Oops. So anytime you get some spillage, there's some fell over there, just leave it. Don't do anything. Don't touch it. Don't do anything. Just leave it there for right now. We'll deal with it later. If you try to fuck with that, you're gonna mess it all up. I'm being a little sloppy. Again, you can do this with road wheels on or off. Just depends on how you like to build. Again, to remind you, I bought the model this way, so I don't have a choice. I'm just trying to tap it down in. A little tappy tap. Try not to breathe or sneeze or laugh or cough, because they're all loose right now. I'm just trying to be careful. We'll get to the road wheels in a sec. So I'm trying to get some relatively decent coverage. Because the model's horizontal, everything, gravity keeps it in place for you. And you're gonna get some overflow. It's a little bit unavoidable. Like I said, just let it be. And I'm not gonna worry about under the fenders for right now anyway. It's not my main priority. And this is one of those, it may not all go in one, so you gotta do it a couple times. And just we'll put down the light pigments first. I'm just trying to real carefully get that around that shock absorber. Get it down over those exposed fender here. It's gonna get some over here too. So what we'll do is we'll get a general coverage, and then I'll come back in when I get the first fixture down. I can tilt the model a little bit, and I can start getting the pigments where I didn't get it the first time, because that'll give you something to work with. It's going to be too difficult to tilt the model and get some of these other spots right now. And I'm not super worried about the road wheels at this moment in time. We'll do those secondary. So this is kind of a first pass. Okay, grabbing some medium. And I'm kind of tapping just above the road wheels and keeping on the lower edge. And this is just playing with gravity and moisture, keeping the earth tones darker towards the ground level, because that's where the moisture is obviously going to go down. So by using darker tones, you trick the eye into thinking there's kind of a richer, wetter earth in there. And then grab a little bit of the dark, do the same thing there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can see how I'm starting to build up my kind of layers of colors right now. So by doing things this way, I've put down about a dozen pigments now in terms of colors, and that's why I do it this way. So like I said before, with the light, you start with 4 or 5. Now you're up to like 6 or 7. And then ultimately there's probably 10 to 12 colors actually in the dark, believe it or not, because you're using some of that, and some of that, and building up. You just keep doing it. So like I said, there's only about 2 dozen colors available, something like that, 24 or 36 colors. You're just using 3 or 4 of each of the main groups of earth tones. No big deal. Yeah, I got to eat after this, Marino. I got that Thai salad thing. I got another one waiting for me. It's almost 2. We're good. Brian, yep, we got you. Roll out, good evening. Okay, we'll just catch up. Did we catch everybody? Yeah, you guys are all in the zone. Forrest, welcome. Did I get everybody? How's everybody doing? Happy Wednesday. That's really nice, Mike. bit more low-key than usual, but really, yeah, I'm trying to, Darren, part of what I'm trying to do with this particular model is not so much for you guys, even though I know, Darren, it's really jazzing you up to get going in your stuff, even though your stuff's really low-key weather too, if I recall. But you're trying to give guys, like, this is more, I don't want to say beginner level, but they don't all have to be like superstars, you know? So it's kind of what I'm trying to tone it down. But I want this one a little bit tighter. I've tried it. Winter is hard because the arid climates, whether it's summer or winter, there's a lot less weathering that actually visibly can be seen in terms of contrast, in terms of richness and tones of wetness and stuff like that. And so it does require more discipline to restrain, you know, Italy, summertime, Russia, dead of winter, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to, even North Africa, like, you're just beyond the dust, there's not a ton going on. So, but anywho, that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. Hopefully. Let me get one more brush. This guy? Yeah, this is my other one. Okay. So I've got a little eyedropper. Got my little thinner, my little paint thinner here. So I'm using a paint thinner. This is the Mission Models thinner as a fixer. You can use the X28 to me. It's same as the reason I'm doing that is because this is an entirely Mission Models paint job. So the thinner will bind the pigments to the lower gray hull. So come in here, real gentle like. Just gently push out drops in kind of a controlled manner. Don't flood the surface. Don't touch it. Just let it do its thing. Let the capillary action of this one kind of. And this is again the first stages. Oops, I missed. Some of this thinner will probably attack. The paint's been on here a while now though. So if you miss it, you gotta be careful. I find the eyedropper a little bit easier than using a brush. But you can use a big fat brush and get drops on there and get the drops off. But you can see I'm not splattering down. I'm just kind of real controlled. And I've been doing it this way for a decade. So this is a very repeatable, trustworthy process. And what you'll get is you'll get a really nice texture out of the pigments because I drop them down on there and they kind of plop into clumps. That texture is what I'm trying to capture. If you were trying to do this with a brush and touch these down in there, you just crush the pigments instantly. So this is the reason I do this. And it's always an end game. It's always like what I'm looking for is I want texture. I want dried mud texture. So that's what I'm going for. It's really hard to recreate with pigments without destroying them. So I'm just letting that kind of soak up, do its thing. Since I got some up in there, some of these little. I never even painted the tires, but that's okay. They don't even matter. There's a little trace spot right there. Okay. I miss. Just trying to hit all the little. So I might block the camera for a sec. Yeah, don't flood the surface, but you just want to. Oops, that was a little much. And if it's a little much, if I do that little center one, that's it's a little puddle of thinner there. That's going to do damage. So get that out of there. Just take a Q-tip and gently soak it. That pulls it back out. Like you want some thinner in there, but you don't want so much thinner it's going to destroy the paint that's on the surface because it will eventually. So you just, what else? Whatever's loose on this now, just gently blow off. Okay. Okay. Oh, the legs of the tripod and chair start to have a little argument. All right, so let me off camera. Yeah, don't wear black or white when you're doing pigments. Hold on, I have to get off camera for a second. You will wait forever if you don't hair dry this, so this will take a couple hours to fully dry out. And it'll dramatically change colors on you too, by the way. So it's gonna look quite a bit lighter when it dries. Very much like a glossy and a matte, where glossy looks much darker than matte looks much lighter. So that was actually not too messy. That's pretty good. It's getting a little bit hot, so you gotta let it cool down. So that's kind of starting to dry. But see that texture in there? That's money. Money. And it's that easy. So we'll let that kind of do its thing. Now we can come in here. Now I can worry about the road wheels. Flip this over so I got a clean surface. Okay, so now we'll zoom out just a little bit. All of them. There we go. Okay. All right. Any questions? Everybody good? Hopefully that's pretty clear. Question: the bristles on the brush used for blending are like that after a long period of usage, I believe. Is there a way to make the bristles okay, so what I do, Marco, are you talking my oils? These guys? My Jimmy Jams? These guys, Marco? You mean the oil brushes, right? So what I'll do is I'll clean them in the thinner. Clean them. Actually, I didn't do that. I do it after stream anyway. I clean up my brush after. So I just clean it in the thinner. Just hold it in hands. So I'm flushing it out with thinner, and then as I wipe it, Marco, after every session, see how I'm actually move my hand. So I'm rolling them and I'm pulling backwards, and that tunes that tip. If that makes sense. And that's how I keep them. And then there's a little cup over here or a little holder, and I store and bristle up. And they'll stay that way for a while. I can do 2 or 3 good models. Richard Craig, how are you? Welcome. It's a rainy night in Moscow, Mike, so I'm listening to rain and watching weather. There you go. Got some low-key music going. Precision ice and snow out of the UK. Their stuff is real as it gets. Okay, I'll have to check that out, John. I haven't bought snow products in a long time. Probably should update that. You can let your pigments dry naturally, Neil. I kind of halfway so we can keep it moving. But what you'll find too is that thinner sits on that surface, and I don't recommend you let it sit there for too long. The more you want it to bind and then be done with it. You don't want it to eat through, because it could start to mess the paint up if you're not super careful. Because I don't want to lose my white, and if I let that thinner sit in there for a couple hours, it's just gonna melt that white. You know what I'm saying? So I'd say no to that. I hair dry everything, but it's coming in pretty nice actually. Did a pretty good job. Let the model cool down for a little bit. And this will keep them on the model pretty good. You know, you're not gonna be able to throw it around, but that's not gonna come off at all. And what I can do, well, no, let's get the wheels going first, because we can always come back to that. Okay. So what brush marker? I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Did I answer that correctly? The one with the warm bristles. You mean like this guy's stuff and these guys? You mean, is that what you? Let me go back. The bristle in the brush used for blending. Like, oh, okay. Oh, my bad. Yes. Okay. Yes. Sorry, I misread your question, Marco. Yeah. So this guy here. And I showed in other streams too, but. So here you have a new and an old for each guy. Same thing. On the left is the new ones. And what happens is after you use these up, they'll turn into that. And then you just keep a couple of them handy. I always have like a brush rotation. You know what I'm saying? There's always a new one coming and an old one going out. That's what I do with like my jackets in the closet. Anytime I buy a new one, the old one's got to go out. But yeah, it does take some time, Marco. There's no instant. Like, yes, you can't buy them that way, but. Okay, so when you're putting down lights first, the medium tones, then dark lip. Yep, exactly, Jeff. And that's what I did with all the OPR as well. Most of what you see is always light to dark. Just it's easier to deal with. Just tends to be a little bit of a nicer. Eric Stone Lover, how are you? No, you're good. Okay. So back things go a little bit more in the light. Okay, so I tap a little bit out. I don't want as much for the wheels. And this one you can kind of, I'm kind of jamming this in a little bit. Just want to general dust it on these wheels. I don't want to get too nuts. See, because I don't want anywhere near the texture. It's okay to do what I'm doing here, but when you want kind of the whole texture, you're not going to want to jam that in too much because the little nubbies in here are kind of helping me out, where that's a flat surface and you just crush those down. I'm start being a little asymmetrical. And some of the pigments will fall onto that. That's no big deal either. And I'm actually going to leave one. Yeah, it's such a smooth surface. There's not a lot of bite on that one. Well, that's okay. I just want a little bit of something. Not much. Tap a little medium down around the hub. On this guy, not all of them. Kind of, a little bit more random. Oh, that's too much. Just a slight little, just muddiness to this, and then switching to the dark. This last one's getting a little bit heavy, which is fine. I want a little asymmetrical love. Oops, slightly off. So try to put the darker stuff around the hubs. Again, kind of a little bit of asymmetrical. You don't always have to be super perfect with this stuff. Let's see how this comes out. Okay, eyedropper here. Very carefully. Don't want to flood it. Just let the capillary action do its thing. Very controlled. Again, this is exactly how I do it. And you don't have to get every single spot. Let the capillary action do its thing. And if you get too much, like there's just a hair too much, have a Q-tip handy and just kind of pull some out. Just absorb it back out. Like I said, you don't want that thinner to attack the paint. This is really just, you're looking to fix this down. You have a little bit of a window. And then we'll show you with some oils over this too as well, what you can do. Because you can go back and forth. You could pre-weather with OPR, the road wheels and stuff if you wanted to. Just kind of depends on how you want to do it. There's no like right or wrong, if you will. I'm just going through, again, I'm being super careful. There is no hurry with this. The better job you do with this, because when this comes out right, this looks really cool. Getting some dried mud on the sprocket up under there. Okay, I think I got most spots. Just double check. Because we're going to go right to the hairdryer. And any spots below, You just drop another fresh, that'll add those back in. And that's okay because you get a little bit of like a fresh dry back on top of a dark. So now you're getting kind of the layers going. If you have a little bit of like a drop over, what? Oops, too much. Let's get some on this. Just trying to make sure. So everything's kind of doing this thing. It looks like I got everything pretty good. You guys see anything stand out? Okay, that's get a little bit more over here. It's a little too much, but that's okay. All right, just soak up a little bit. Some of these are a little juicy. It's gonna take a little bit longer to dry. So I'm just kind of soaking up some of the thinner because then I'm gonna hair dry it. Okay. Let me get my spot right. All right. Okay. Gotta be a little bit careful with this. So I'm just checking. This is kind of a low-key pigmenty coverage. It's not as much as the other model, so I'm kind of going to go a little bit less. I was going to go a little bit more, but maybe on the other side we can go a little bit heavier for the next round. But let's switch back to the oils. Let's pull these guys out. Let me clean it for half a second. Okay, did you find any thinner unsuitable for this kind of work? I've only ever tried a couple rounds. I don't go through like everything. Like sometimes I don't test like all sorts of crazy stuff. If something works, I tend to stick with it. So to me, X20A was because most of my other acrylic base coats worked fine. And I could have used it here too if I wanted to. It's kind of just a quick bind. It doesn't have to be super crazy. So I've used a couple things. Most everything has worked though, to be honest with you, Robert. I've not found anything that kind of doesn't work. Oh, yes, I did. My bad. Enamel thinners, I find personally, maybe the other Spanish guys don't find it that way, but they evaporate too fast for me and they don't bind to the acrylic as well, because that makes sense if you think about it. The enamel thinner on an acrylic base coat. So I would say just make sure that your base coat and your thinner for this is matching. Let's tap that out of the thing because this dust gets everywhere. Okay, what else? Life color? Yeah, sure. As long as the base coat's acrylic, Robert. Like an acrylic thinner won't bind to an enamel paint job. So that's kind of what I guess you could say is use your barometer to determine that. Okay, let's get this guy in. Well, I did pretty good, not super messy. That's pretty chill. Here's my thing. Okay, let's bring this guy back up. Put this guy right here. So now, get a little bit of a prop job going here. That's mission thinner, so I need this thinner back. Don't need that anymore. Put that back there. This guy over here. Okay, switching back to the oils. Alrighty, we're moving along. We're doing pretty good. Get my oil paint palette back. Oops. Put this down right here. I can never get that top layer with my thumbnail. The double side too. Okay. Come on now. There we go. Okay. So what happens is the linseed oil is bleeding in the back of the cardboard. It loses adhesion over the first hour or so. So sometimes you have to put your tape down. Okay, push that down pretty good. Okay, Okay, Mr. Tanker Dude. And I'll get to questions here in a sec. That's actually still pretty wet. Hold on one second. Let me do one more round of hair dry. So. Yeah, did that make sense, Robert? You're not modeling. You're never alone, Carol. We're all in this together. I'm just drying this thinner up pretty good. And I like my little asymmetrical dust splatters here. It's kind of cool. So this is obviously a little bit less heavy-handed. And we'll do some stuff with the road wheel, the tire part too. I didn't hand paint those a different color. So we're just going to do it a different direction. And I can always come back later with the brush and carefully hand paint the tires at any point in time. So it's okay. Not the end of the world. Oops. Get this just right. You want that to catch that. There we go. Okay. All right. There we go. There we go, fellas. Okay. We're down there. We're down there. Okay. Since we've already got some dust down, but we'll put a little bit more down too. Get a fresh soul. You know what's over there. All right. All right. All right. All right. Okay, so just getting some oil back, just like it's before. Nothing's changed, my friends. Just starting this little guy right here. Camera working? Good. Put some additional dust down. Now, like I said, you could do either or, first or after, doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. It's a little white. Let's go more gray. And because this is solvent based over, that's all acrylic down there. Now I'm not really messing with the pigments, but I'm putting some oils into them a little bit. It's not really an advanced technique, but we're just kind of. Trying to get that similar oil color to the earth color a little bit. Pull my browns in. There we go. Just coming in here. Just a little light for me. So just grab it by the sprocket so I can do this. I'm going to hair dry it real quick. It's just easier for me to pull it off screen because blender. Just keep bumping this dude. Sorry about that. I think my glasses stick out just enough to hit that. I'm just kind of center out. Should put that vertical actually. Hold on 1 second. The angle's just not right. There we go. Just gonna keep it horizontal. Because what happens is it was all starting to go to the bottom, and it was kind of like that's not what I was looking for. It was all dropping to the bottom of the wheel. So I'm gonna go a little bit more horizontal. So this is oil on the pigments. Again, nothing special. And the pigments do absorb quite a bit, so you can kind of go back and forth and back and forth. I'm just going right over the overspray whitewash on the tire. I don't even really care, because oftentimes you'll see that look. Yeah, see, there's no grip to the tape anymore. There's so much oil on the back of that cardboard. Trying to cut that black open. The black was dried out. I'm trying to get a little bit darker, greasier hub look. It's almost a little too black. That's okay. And these guys do get pretty greased out. So you can see here, let's move this up a little bit. On the back roadway here, as the oils are starting to blend into the pigments, you're getting kind of that bleeding out, greasy hub look inside the dirt. And then by varying the opacity of the pigments, same thing with the earth effects, opacity is a big deal. You can kind of get different looks as you go down to keep them kind of original and fresh. Or you can use, actual reference, and if you look and study this stuff, you can see which wheels are leaking and streaking per the subject that you have. So you can, guys, you out of here, Darren? Thanks, buddy. Yep, you got it, man. Early start. Have a good day. Good Thursday for you. Yeah, it's got to be pretty late back in Europe right now. It's getting probably midnight-ish. Rosso's probably at midnight. Oops. We'll do a little bit more, and we're going to call it here too pretty soon. I'm just gently putting in darker tones under that idler hub thing, this cover. But I'm trying not to get too carried away with the color. Keep spinning off camera for you. Like, I think it's always okay to go greasier in some hubs, but not all of them. Keep them kind of, I don't want to say less is more, but you don't have to do all of them the same. Because those pigments are kind of starting to dry up in there with the fixer, you can just touch it with the oil a little bit. But I'm not really diving into them. You can see I'm kind of starting to grease up that hub around there a little bit. You can do the same thing with this guy over here. Like up in these shock absorber mounts in here, you can get pretty juicy. Yeah, it's just not sticking to that piece of tape at all. I could tell that means the pallet's at the end of its days. I'm blocking the camera, sorry. I'm on that shock absorber against the hole right now. And because the pigments kind of absorb so much, you can come in and use a little more thinner. And then we can do some, you know, my favorite. Juice this up a little bit. You can actually get a little bit heavy-handed with this stuff. Kind of flicking a little bit more intense than I normally do. A little bit more thinner, a little bit more dark color. Just get it right down on that dirt. And it gives you that little extra layer of speckling and kind of grease and grime. And any happy accents I tend to just roll with too. Yeah, see, that looks pretty cool. A little bit intense, but just roll with it. Blend this up a little bit there real quick. Pull it over a little bit. There it goes. You can see how this kind of starts to, you can start to see it's really starting to build up the depth of grit and grime. And I have to do this at a weird angle. That's what's on camera. And so I don't know if Jethro, you're still out there if you're watching, but to the clear coats. This is another huge reason I don't use the clear coats, because when you start to get to this work in here, you know, you don't want to lose any of this stuff. You want this all to really bring out your own. Yeah, maybe, Tony, maybe. We'll see how that goes. What method of pigment fixing do you recommend for more durability when handling more? So 2FS, switch to the quote unquote pigment fixer. And I know AK and Ammo and the boys, they all sell that stuff. You probably could make your own, but I mean, you know, I just buy a bottle of it and use it on occasion when I need to. And that's like the first fixer. So when I use a pigment fixer, not the paint thinners, go with your pigment fixer first on your first layer, like this first layer, and that gets it all in there good. And then the next ones you could switch to a paint thinner if you want to, because there's varnishes in those, and sometimes they'll leave like weird dry results. So I tend to find, I mean, that's pretty fun in there. Look at that. I mean, see how quickly we got that hub already looking kind of gritty, grimy, and I barely did anything. So that's how simple this could really be. You know, it's, you know, a little grease stain on that suspension bump stop. Is that the bump stop? Yeah, it is the bump stop. That be the bump stop. I don't know what the Germans call a bump stop, but that's what that was. So yeah, the speckling in this part is probably my most fun favorite-y. Stick to the tape for a second. It's not sticking to the tape, so the cardboard's shifting all over the place. A little Jimmy Jams everywhere. Okay, we get kind of a juicy. Yeah, see, that's pretty juicy. Let's get in here. So get pretty close. Just get in there. Just speckle the snot out of it. Half of this disappears into the pigments. You barely see it, but to the gritty weathering conversation, you guys, like, how do you get that gritty look? Oops. Jam the camera with the brush. That's how you do it. That's the first step. I've been pretty good with that lately. I've moved it out, but I'm a little happy there for a second. Okay, so I'm just tapping in around these little suspension joints in here. Just that dark, oily, greasy, yucky color. Just dark browns, blacks, dark greens, grays. Don't be super concerned. I'm going under the arm over here. And you can go extra thinner because that'll bleed out into the pigments too. Because now that these are dried pretty good, so it can suffer some handling, or with at least touching with the brush. Trying to get more of a wash effect on it, kind of a bleeding out look. I just keep speckling and speckling. Now you want to be careful with the, whoops, I'm off camera, sorry guys. You want to be careful with the speckling part and get under the fender so that it doesn't speckle the model on the outside. So get down in there. See how I'm kind of under the fender lip? So now when I flick it down, it stays trapped in that little area. And that's a key kind of part of this. Yeah, you can, but see, that's, as my boy's relaxing, Matt Byrne is relaxing, we are having a good time over here. You can see, just get that kind of leaky, shitty looking You know, these poor dudes took a beat. This is Russia, winter, 1942. They just take a beating. You know, I don't know when these guys come up for air, if you know what I mean. Like these guys are in the field for weeks and months. You know, once they offloaded from the trains and left the depots. But I've studied enough Barbarossa campaign to know. Oops, go back. It's getting a little bit hard to see down in there. Yeah, I was trying to get you that angle to see. But these little bump stop dudes. Trying to get a lot of thinner on the brush. There's no oil. This is so dried out. That means I need a new palette. So you can see how it just absorbs so much. Just getting the connection points of the shock absorbers to the swing arms, all that stuff. Just a little bit greasy, grimy, darker, wetter color in there. Yeah, you can see how that just looks just gorgeous. Now it eventually will dry out. Now, if you wanted to, there's some gloss agents. You can add gloss agents to this from the art stores and stuff if you want more of a wetter, glossier look. When you're using the light color rust set, let's switch to that. Let's do some of that. Okay, thank you for that. I'll switch to that. When you're using light color rust set, how diluted do you make the? Yeah, let's do that, Michael. You got it, sir. Yeah, but that looks pretty good. I'm a happy camper. I'll give this a good hair dry. It's gonna bleed some of these dudes out here. This is my leaky, greasy one. And that's usually what I do is I kind of just let I kind of let the effects happen and then kind of decide which one's going to be a little bit greasier, which one's going to be a little bit cleaner wheel. I don't get super hung up on it. I kind of let it do its thing. Broad shoulders. So I'm just pulling center out here. So watch this when we dry this. This will look money. Let's clean all that up pretty good. I want to leave this part, so I want to make sure I've got everything kind of where I want it, so I can walk away from it. Clean up some of the pigments on the tires a little bit, because I'll come back and address the tires part later. So I'm just cleaning some of the loose pigments. I'm just basically wiping it off, so it's just kind of cleaned up a little bit. It's a little bit cleaner. The contact patches of the tires. We'll deal with those. I'll show you how I deal with those later too, in another stream. Not this one. We're going to switch to light color for the exhaust real quick for my boy Michael. Okay, so we're at a good stopping point. Let's dry this real good. We'll get to some questions and then we'll do a little bit more work on the exhaust system in the back. Dry this off camera real quick. Like it's a well-used StuG, but it's not as at the other level of the other model. So that's where we're at right now. Really cool kind of patchy dried mud effect up in there. And what I'll do is, or what I would do normally, and the tracks will cover up those ejector pin marks and all that stuff. You'll never see that. Like once the track's up in there, you'll actually honestly never see that. But I'll go through and I do another round of kind of adding more pigments kind of on top of that a little bit to kind of tighten that up. I might do that and get the suspension arms and go underneath and do some work down here. Because what you have to do now, this part I actually hate, is you have to get you have to do the pigments on this side from underneath, from the back side, and then you flip it over. Then when you do the other side, you're going to get that side. So I should have done that as well. And I usually would have, but we're just kind of moving along. Just trying to show you guys some things, some stuff. Okay. has to stand up right. Everybody good? We'll do a little bit more, about another 15, 20, half hour or so. A little life color thing over here. Okay. Yeah, we're doing good today. There's a lot of good stuff for you guys. Life color set over here. Okay, we're just going to do just the main exhaust part there, nothing else really. I'm getting a little hungry. Hey, Christian, what's up, brother? Welcome, welcome. Can you confirm for me, my Belgian friends, what the VAT tax is on printed books in Belgium? I'm being told multiple things. It should be 7%, but I'm being told it's 21%. I don't know if my Belgian friends know what the VAT is coming. Okay, so I'm just pouring some of the life color out of my palette here, just the raw paint for right now. Just putting all 4 colors out. It's gonna be too much, but it's okay. I don't use it a ton anyway. We'll show you here, Michael, in just a second. Okay, so it's the yellow, orange, rust, and dark rust color spectrum. And you can use 4 similar colors of paint if you want. Don't matter. It don't matter. Question, I'm building a Panther 8 early with Zimmerit. Can you still map? Yes, absolutely, Greg. It'll look beautiful. That's the one case where you can really use Zimmerit to effect for textural capture like that. I recommend typically with a Zimmerit model, when you weather it, to weather the surface of a Zimmerit tank as if it's not there. So don't act like the Zimmerit texture's there. Is it 6%? See, look, I thought it was low, and I've got a guy, one of my customers saying it's 21% for books from shipment from Germany to Belgium. I'm like, no, it's like 6 or 7%. And I've been told by my shipper it's 7%. Yeah, no worries. You know, you can email me later, whatever. I saw your name, like my boy in Belgium. But I'm pretty sure it's a 6 or 7% ratio. Question, I'm building. Okay, yeah, just bought myself a StuG III this week, so I'm trying to follow along with those lines. Yeah. So what you'll get, who asked that? Greg Riley. Yeah, so what you'll do is kind of this effect. That's all this stuff in here, Greg, is all mapping with the oils after the fact. So it's all hairspray chipped, and then I came back in and just used the Zimmerit to effect. And then the weathering part, the actual dirt and grime, I just pretended like the Zimmerit wasn't there. Like I didn't put washes in the Zimmerit. I went around just the tool brackets and stuff. And then there's some that's what we'll do on this. We'll do on this guy. It's this stuff here. Let me see what I use. Well, I've got the book open. Hold on. So I know John Fossey, you said, yeah. So I use Woodland Scenic Snow with the white make pigments. And then there's that's a pigment fixer. That's the old bottle, but it's the same thing. Yeah, it's at 6%. Thank you, Christian. Thank you guys that answered that. Luke and Christian, my Belgian friends. Thank you. That's what I thought. Okay, to the life color. So put a little water. Where's my water? So Mike in the stream. Water. Like a, oops. Don't go nuts. Make a mess. Okay, so maybe like 20, 25, 30% thinner. You can go a little bit on the yellow. You can go a little bit more. I probably put too much in the dark brown. I should have kept that a little bit less water. Kind of 30, 40%, 30%, 20, 30, 20-ish, 10%. That makes sense? That help? Okay. Okay, so I've got some. So I'm gonna use a brush this time and not a sponge. So we're gonna do this a little bit different. See how this goes. I'm gonna start at the joint here of the pipe coming out. See what I get. Yeah. Oops. Oh, I'm closer. Ow. It's a comedy show. All right. So I'm gonna do this real slow, like you work this in gentle, like don't rush into this one because I want to keep some of this whitewash. And this is almost like a filter on a filter, just a wet of the yellow. Like I'm being a little bit random and sporadic, but not super cray-cray. Don't want to get too nuts. You can go more nuts on the actual exhaust pipe itself. So good, but let me mix that up there a little bit, go right into the orange while that yellow's still a little bit wet. Okay, I do need one more brush, don't I? Oh, I need a wet brush. So it's a little bit like the OPR, but with the life color stuff. It's kind of a blender, just a clean one with a little water on it. Just kind of knock that back down a little bit. And since this is acrylic, you don't have anywhere near the window of working time, so you have to work a little bit faster. A little fuzz, get that fuzz out of there. Get your fuzz off my model. I just wanted you guys to see a totally different angle. And always with this process, the yellow oranges look like super stark. I don't want to say they look bad. They're way too strong. But we tone this down in the next two colors. And I'm showing you real quick. I'm going to go back and I'll be more precise off camera later on with this. So I'm trying to just hit the exposed surfaces, that stuff you guys see pretty easily. So you can work it a little bit like the OPR, a little bit with the water. See how I kind of cleaned it up a little? So I'm trying to keep some white, but we'll map some stuff back in too. So this is just kind of rusting up this painted exhaust, kind of chipped and painted exhaust. And again, the orange is a little bright for the task, but that's because it's the early color. I didn't do much of the yellow, but we'll use the yellow going back as well. I think I show you a little bit of that in previous efforts. So, but you can use a little more water, like a thinner, kind of clean some of this up. See, that looks a little better there. Pull from the bottom up a little bit. So now we'll switch to let's grab the standard rust. Mix that real good. Unload the brush. Get kind of a fresh. So it's kind of wet brush, but you're not. This is going to probably, if I don't do this right, yeah, it's a little too much. Come on, unload that. So the sponge is a little bit easier, but it gives you a different look, and I kind of wanted that. That's kind of cool. Kind of cool. A little bit careful with this way. So I'm just kind of working slow. And you can see as that starts to really dry, how that translucent wet on wet, kind of really dead matte though. It's probably a little dramatic right now still. It's okay, well, especially compared to, look how quick that goes. Now remember too, this is a painting process. So I technically wouldn't consider this weathering per se, because what we're gonna do is everything that we did on the fenders and stuff over here, we will pull back into the exhaust system as well. But this is kind of your initial, like, don't think it's going to be left this start, if you will. Now you can if you want, but it's not our total end game here. Just kind of do a little coffee handshake there. I'm really working with the translucency that comes from this. There's all these mold lines in it, but it's okay because a lot of times these are welded tubes, and so you can use those mold lines if you forget to take them out. The judges won't like it, but you know what I mean. Like, hey, that's a mold line. I'm like, no, it's a weld line. What are you talking about? Try that using that rust to get a more texture look. You can, Joe. You could tap it out. One of the things I talk about in a previous stream was the reason I like these particular paints for this. Is there is a real subtle matte texture, and if you, I think what will happen is you'll be a little bit like me, where you'll start studying exhaust systems. They don't actually pit out in texture anywhere near what people think they do. I should just do exhaust painting for the rest of my life. This is so fun. Let me lock that in. I'm kind of. Just enough. Okay, so now, is that making sense, Mike, though, in terms of thinning and all that stuff? So let's get some of that dark. But it's already started to calm down a little bit. Okay, this one here, I'm going to go. Okay, so this dude. Some of that color out. I'm gonna go, I want almost like a thin, like a wash. So this just kind of filtered the whole thing in the brown. And it starts to knock down the tones of the yellows and oranges. My little applicator brush is kind of older and junky. This should be a sharper tip. Just trying to get the joint. I know ultimately I'll put some black in there, but I'm just kind of having fun with it. Trying to save some of the white under this little, I don't know if that's a handle or I don't know what that is. Strappy dude there. That's my fancy hair dryer. So the water will work it for a little while. Like it's not 100% dry yet, but I'm just trying to save some of that and get a little bit more of the brown up top here. So as heat rises, the top parts will cook a little bit more. There'll be less paint on the top part of your exhaust systems. Brushing away real gentle like. Stipple some of that. You get that kind of pitted, rusty look a little bit through the paint. A little nose edge there. Trying to leave some of that light orange rust on the pipe showing a little bit. Trying to get a little speckly. And you can come in with kind of pinks and some other stuff with the oils too, if you wanted to, and get kind of that pale pinky rust, that kind of faded orangey pink color too. Yeah, it's a nice base rust down on that guy. The rust starts yellow and gets darker and darker and darker. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's kind of why I follow that. It just you can see how it started to look a little cray and then it comes in real quick. Did you use sponges, Mike, on the tracks? Yeah, I love that, Ezekiel. I don't want to do any more. Like, that looks really cool. Because once I do like the weathering and the dirt and the mud and a little snow in there, that's going to look really cool. So we'll do this. We'll do the other side here. We'll do the right side. I don't know how complete a coverage I got. I didn't do too bad. There's a little bit of nooks and crannies up in there. And it's a little bright and poppy because there's no weathering around anything, so that nothing's blended in terms of the color spectrum. So it's a little strong, but that's okay. You can kind of do it. Mr. Duchamp, once you start seeing the smiley face on these twin exhausts, it goes away. You're a dick, dude. Just kiss my ass. I hate you guys sometimes, but I love your little Luna. Is it Luna Gaines? Is that what you're doing? Is that what that one is? Yeah, the chipping today you showed on Instagram was so spectacular. Yeah, make sure you give him some love, guys. Okay, so let's do the other side. So we go back to the yellow, and I could have done it all at once, but I just kind of was just doing one at a time. No big deal. So I'm just kind of going back to the yellow here. It's kind of a dirty, just other than getting some of the paint out of there. More of a pure yellow. And that's okay, because maybe the exhausts are slightly different color spectrums anyway. And the yellow layer just kind of knocks the starkness down a little bit. You can see how it's kind of just a filtery tint. And I'm not like super concerned about it. I'm just trying to get it in places without, I'm not like trying to flood everything, but just at the same time trying to just a hint of love with the color. Let's try a little of this too. Who asked the texture question? I'm sorry, I forgot who said that one. Your toothbrushes, if you want to texture the rust up, speckle it. You can get some real good here. Also, I'll sell you some books here in a sec. Here, trying to be careful with this. Just putting some yellow specks back on that left-hand rust. Let's see if you guys can. Not too shabby. So that's all speckled and sponged in, and there's a slight texture to all that. Whoever asked, I forgot who asked that question. But there's a toothbrush. Yeah, I used the toothbrush and I just speckled all sorts of spots and stains. You'll get a slight texture to it as those paint drops dry to little speckly textures. Find me one time. Styrene Air Force modeling tutorials. Nice. How are you, man? System here. I usually use the sponges for props. They work really because they kind of grip each other, but they don't scratch or break or anything like that. Like, or, they won't harm the model if I mess up. Alrighty, let's continue on. Which one? This one. Let's get a little orange, a little water, a little orange. Mike, I meant to. Sorry, with the tracks. Yeah, use sponges. Okay, probably if you weren't getting the effect, was it too thin? Maybe. 2FS tops and have some small items to rust up with a sponge when to get into the brush method. Exactly what I've been looking for. You're welcome. You've been very helpful too, Bryn. So, and plus I ran out of candy, so maybe you'll send me more. Just kidding. Don't do that. I can get all that stuff here. But yeah. Let's wipe that. Okay. Puts a little bit of orange on this guy. Keep going, everybody. Good. We'll be done here in about 5-10 minutes. We'll wrap it up here. And again, this is just the rust coloring part. As I've said before, we will weather this up down the road. No And it's very much a wet application where the translucency is what I'm after. I'm not trying to like paint. You know, it's kind of just a dabbing method here, just kind of. We can even do a little, just tiny little flecks of the orange in there. Let's grab some of the rust colors now. Get the blender ready because this is where it starts to get a little bit. So maybe you can see how I'm kind of competing the two exhausts without looking the same, but kind of they're same but different. That's a saying that works on this. Trying to keep more of that kind of captured look there. Maybe the right side exhaust just runs a little bit cooler and hasn't just messed up the paint as much as the other side. Dry some of that. Dries pretty quick. So. That's switch part. Okay. Take my little blender brush, come in here. Yeah, get some real nice effects with this stuff though. There's a slight window, like I said, of working time. Yeah, this is super low key fun right here. And all I'm doing with the blending brush is just keeping it from drying really stark. You know, pulling some streaks down, obviously, because that's always fun. This guy's a little too much water on it over there. It's not drying enough, so I'm gonna have to let him dry up pretty good. Yeah. I'll get to the exhaust pipe part in a second. We'll switch to the dark. Kind of a dark wash over this, dark brown wash. And because these paints are so matte, you're getting kind of, there's a subtleness, smoothness to the whitewash paint. And then you're getting kind of up close. I can see this with my eyeballs. You can probably see it in here. You're just getting a hint of slight variations. And again, to that conversation with before in stream about clear coats and all this stuff. It really makes a big difference. Because you'll lose it all if you start clear coating this stuff. But this is acrylic paint. So this will do its thing. You know, this will dry to a paint. This is going to be on there. It's not going anywhere. So with the dark dude, let's the darkest color. Let's take this guy, get some water out of that, get some more paint. And with this guy. Speckle some dark specks down. Anything that gets on the whitewash paint too, you can just deal with it by covering it up later. I'm not super worried about it. You can see how close I get to that. You know, maybe half a centimeter away, 3-4 millimeters. And then just rotating the stick to aim it. And you can use whatever works for you guys too. And this just adds that like dark speckly little dark rust that comes out. You can use a sponge for this too if you want, but I like these little speckly ways too sometimes. It's hard to get a sponge up in there accurately enough and small enough, but you can see we've got some over speckles. That's okay. That's gonna all be covered up or whatever. I'm not super concerned about that. And if I was concerned about that, you could take some Post-it notes and protect that if you wanted to. you know, if you're going to do this kind of stuff. They're gonna just add to the love that's gonna happen. So there you go. There's your life color rusting up the exhaust a little bit. Any final thoughts? Deep thoughts on a Wednesday afternoon? Because it's starting to get blazing hot. I can feel it now. Yeah, we're pushing 80 degrees inside. Do Panthers got weather rusty? So Raphael, that's going to depend on that cover. That's a bit contentious because I've said if that metal on the back, I've been challenged on this before actually, and it just goes both ways. I haven't been convinced that it doesn't. That is basically sheet metal, and there's no reason why it wouldn't. If that heat burns that paint, there's going to be, you know, the temperature ratio. Maybe in the beginning, you know, in the first 2-3 weeks, it doesn't. But you know, anything that's going to be that exposed, because even if you studied all the other exhaust systems, if you looked at Panzer IVs and Hetzers and StuGs, all that stuff, you'll see the early war that, you know, they're coming out in just a bare metal, some of them. So I'm just not convinced 100% either way than the other, Raphael, on what that is. The F exhaust, dude, that's the big tube one that comes out like the suppressor one, right? Kind of looks like a giant can on top of it. Am I correct in that? I've been an F exhaust in a while. Yeah. Good times, my friend. Yeah, I think the F exhaust is kind of a, like there's a silencer or what they call like a flame suppressor. And it's got the little, like when you look at the top, it looks like a turbine fin that kind of captures the like little embers and stuff. So at night you don't see it because they would operate mostly at night for safety. Because they were having a tough time at that point in time, even hypothetically. Yeah, Alex, it's so much fun. Sorry for the crack on that. My hands are. So Mike says the issue getting in between the guide horns with the sponge. I guess I need to use this. Yeah, use a smaller one, Mike, for sure. Yeah, it's all learning for sure, my friend. Maybe less water. I'm thinking a little bit more paint, just a smidge more. Maybe you're too thin, possibly. But that's also one of those things you can go back and build those up, and then watch the track stream again if you haven't watched it 50 times already. But we'll go back and watch, and then how I dry brush the dark metal back over that. But yeah. It's fucking smiley faces, dude. Alex, you just killed me, dude. You ruined my day, dude. Completely ruined my day. That's fun. We had some good times, everybody. So we're starting to get some love on the StuG. I'm just touching the sprocket in the idler back. I'm not touching anything critical. Yeah, it's coming in pretty good. So to recap, so this is kind of where I'm at. Like that would be my first go around. And then as I build this up, thank you, Nog. As I get this up, as I get the tracks on, as I would probably do maybe 1, 2, 3 more go arounds and passes with all of this to kind of tighten stuff up. See how some of those grease stains are a little stark. I can come back and layer some thin pigments back on top, kind of layer it up a little bit. And that's another thing I want to talk about is, and we'll get into it, like the execution of it is weathering time. And what I mean by that is quote unquote weathering, quote unquote time, in that you're going to weather the age of this over the course of its life in the field. So those stains are going to happen as it goes. Like maybe that's a Friday stain, maybe that's a Monday stain, maybe that's they sat for a while and then stuff bled out stains, and then you got dirty again, so that's covered up, but kind of see it. Weathering time and getting that so that you guys really, in your finishes, you get that depth to it. And that's a crucial element to, again, to the upper levels of weathering and stuff. It really kind of, this is early stages still, believe it or not. This is like maybe 50% weathered for what I'm looking at. So what we mean by that is come back in here and you'll see a little bit less starkness with this. Let's see if I can zoom out. So with this guy, kind of the finished result. Oh, this, yeah, I forget that one doesn't zoom or lock focus. So see here in the hub versus this hub there. So it's just kind of beginning to come in. And then over here, we've got the faded dust, do you see the old stains underneath a little bit? So we'll get into the layering of that stuff. And then I've got old grease stains underneath some of these hubs, and I got some fresh ones on top. And so I layer it up. and you'll weather the time of it. And that's a critical element to especially, well, I know any machine really, any machine weathering, you want to weather the time into it. So hopefully that kind of, this was fun. We had a good one. Really, really good stuff. Speckles. Speckles is my Academy Award winning, the texture of the, or the technique of the year. Speckles. Be like a 3-page book. You're welcome, guys. Sorry, let me ask, let me get some final questions here. Let me go back through, catch up any questions I missed. Let me see if I can catch them here before we sign off. I'll eat my salad, my Thai salad with the nectarine. Let's see here. Let me scroll back up a little bit. Yeah, Mike absolutely taught me. Thank you. That's okay. Cool. We got that. Sponges. Yep. Okay. Gray base color makes the rust tones pop out so well. Yeah. So that's working. Yeah. Again, contrast the colors in the beginning, and you can go strong now because we'll tie that all in later. We're still kind of a painting stage with the rust. Don't forget to hit the like buttons. Oh yes. Yes. Yeah. Let me do my duties. My duties. I said duties. Hit that like button, subscribe. And the bell notification button, there's a little bell icon. If you click that, it'll send you notifications when I do stuff on YouTube. And then what else here? I appreciate that. It grows the channel, gets us going. We're going pretty good. We're almost 3K on the followers, so we're getting up there. Subscribers, I mean. As far as Active World War II goes, where were you at with exhaust? Is about as bad as the rust. Yeah, that's what I feel too. And John, I'll go back in and I'll layer some whitewash and some mapping and do some stuff, and I'll kick it way down too. I like to keep a little, just kind of like a stylistic too. I like to keep a little color of the armor camo showing with my exhaust. I rarely go full rust anymore. I like to keep a little color. Just as more stylistic, kind of stylized, artistic point of view. Neil, thanks, great stream. You're welcome, guys. You're very welcome, Jeff. Thanks, brother. You're welcome, Jethro. I hope it hit home, especially trying to really dial this in so that you can kind of see, like, I can't clear coat any of that stuff, dude. It'll ruin it all. So yeah, I strongly recommend a no on that. Get your clear coats, your varnishes, your decals, your markings, all your seals, not the animals, but all your chemical seals and everything. Try to get that done the earliest part of the modeling as possible, like all the painting stuff. When you start to tackle weathering in this stuff, that should all be kind of done. And then that'll give you a little bit better play. Jethro and you guys out there that really are concerned about that, try to really get all that out of the way before you start this stuff. And then you'll have a better time with it, especially with the matte coat. Thumbs down button. You would, Justin, wouldn't you? I hope your daughters pump you right in the head for being a jerk about that. Be nice. Just kidding. Cool teacher. You're welcome, Matt. I love you, Justin. Don't worry. Yeah, 3 hours. Yeah, I'm starving too. I haven't eaten today. Yeah, everybody. Any final questions before we sign off? Everybody good? Weather and time like that. Yep. So yeah, we got pretty far today. I wanted to dive in and we accomplished some tasks today. I'll throw some pictures up on Instagram later. If you guys don't follow on Instagram, please, and all that good stuff. Everybody's doing wonderful. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you Sunday. I expect probably trains and rails or something to that effect. You're welcome, Eric. You're welcome, everybody. I'm going to sign off now. Everybody good. Everybody have a great rest of your day, morning, afternoon, wherever you're at. Be safe. Be happy.